Hello and welcome to On The Esky. It's been 10 days since the last episode because this man, Peps, on my left had to go and take a holiday.
Yeah, honeymoon.
Yes. A lot of sports has happened in that time frame. We're going to get stuck into the Australian cricket. It is back and it's been a bit so-so, let's say it that way.
Yeah, mediocre performance from us Australians. But look, we got the Aussie cricket team back after about 3 months since that tour of New Zealand.
Yes.
State of origin, you'll be pretty happy about that, wouldn't you?
Happy about how that ended up. And then, of course, we'll go into some NRL and AFL news for the local football leagues. Then there's the NBA conference finals still going on and some other NBA...
The NBA finals.
Yes.
I wrote that in there. So it's still left over from a few weeks ago.
Yeah. My name, Ron Burgundy.
I'm Ron Burgundy. You can't write it there because you will read it out, ladies and gentlemen.
UFC 263 happened a couple of weekends ago. There's some big news coming out of that. 264.
That is written there as 264.
Yes. I just can't read.
We're off to a fucking flyer, boys.
Yeah, the British Grand Prix was
10 weeks
yesterday.
out.
The British Open as well. And then, of course, the Olympics are right around the corner, hoping to start on Friday.
They go ahead, surely.
Yes.
You can't pull the pin 4 days before.
No.
What's the IOC? Liz Cambridge.
No. But let's... the opening ceremony, though, on Friday might be a different conversation, but we'll see. As you alluded to, I think it all goes ahead.
I'd say so.
Was there any other notes there to tackle, or we go straight into Shout a Beer?
Let's go into Shout a Beer because 10 days, we've got a lot to talk about. I'll start off. Gianluigi Donnarumma. It was a week ago today now, but the Italian goalkeeper, the 22-year-old, he came up with 3 big dick saves right there at the death. Italy win the Euros. We've been on them the whole time, getting a
Picked
few.
him here.
Yeah, picked him pretty early on. We got called Anglophobic cobbers by someone in the comments there. It is kind of funny, I guess, because I'm half Italian and
he's Hong Kongese and I'm the white guy.
Yeah, Skippy Lala over here was on the Italians from the
convict
start.
from down under. So.
But yeah, they got the job done. Absolute scenes in Rome and Naples and Milan and everywhere around the world because there's
everywhere but England.
Italians everywhere essentially.
Well, I think the world was real happy that the Pommies had built it all the way up. They'd made it all the way to the final.
Home. People had tattoos. The song was going mental,
and they lose.
And they lost at home in front of their home crowd. I'm not a complete sociopath. I do feel a little bit for young Saka. His name reminds me of that old Oli G. Booyaka, booyaka. Well, that could be a nickname we get going for him. But 19 years old to be given the responsibility to take that penalty at the end, and it was a good save from Donnarumma. And then just cue classic English hoodlum behaviour, like racial abuse on Twitter, and they tore London apart.
Well, we got it later in the notes, but we might as well cover it now. Like Lando Norris got mugged, at Wembley Stadium.
People jumping over, like they were trying to break into Wembley essentially, mate.
So many people crashed the gate and just
crashed the gate and just got in. Some nuts videos coming out as well. You cannot do anything in public these days because it will end up on the internet. But yeah, it's got my fire burning in the belly, and we'll get to the cricket in a sec, but the Ashes coming up. Geez, I just hope we flog these Poms.
Big time.
Come out summertime. Mux, what about you?
Yep. So staying in England, I'll shout out beer for Ash Barty, winning Wimbledon. So first Australian female champion since Eva Goolagong. Goolagong, I got that right. Back in 1980. So props to her. She beat Carolina Pliskova.
Pliskova. Yeah, there's a lot going on there with the Czech names.
6-3, was down 6-7 in second set, and then 6-3 to win.
3 set, and Aussie Ash got it done. There was a party, and she's backing up for the Olympics. So hopefully, the good times keep rolling for our girl Ash.
Definitely.
That's it. Who have you got, Sean?
Me. So I've got Alex Gibbs, former offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos. He passed away, unfortunately, during the week. I think he was 80. Kind of considered the godfather of the zone blocking scheme. So brought to fame, of course, by Terrell Davis and the Denver by winning those championships. But then as the kind of the fundamental component that built up the Shanahan system, as we like to call it. So Mike, of course, used it for many, many, many years. And if he ever gets another head coaching job, would use it again. Kyle uses it very similar as well, that whole kind of scheme. And, a lot of the former NFL players that had played under him and under that, respected him for bringing that evolution to the game at that point in time. So big shout out to him and condolences to the family, of course.
Revolutionised the position, really, didn't he? Yeah. All right, let's do a segue that we like to do here on the Esky, from American football to cricket.
Cricket. Yes. So how did we go, Peps, in the cricket? We're talking about the T20 series, Australia versus West Indies. How did we finish up?
Yeah, we lost the series 4-1. We went down 3-0. So essentially two
very stinky.
Yeah, 2 dead rubbers to finish off. Go way back to game 1, which we absolutely bottled this. We got off to a good start. Finchy, he won the toss and elected. I think we won all the tosses actually in this. And we had them 3 for 35 in the 8th over. Josh Hazlewood was on fire. He had 3 for 12 from his 4 overs. I think he got hit for 6 on his last ball. So he was 3 for 6 off his first 23 balls in bowling international T20. Unbelievable. But then it was Big Dre Russ. He saved the Windies with 51 of 28 and 5 sixes. Got him to a respectable 145. And then good knocks from Matt Wade and Mitch Marsh. We'll get to him in a second. At the top of the order were followed by an almighty collapse by the Aussies. Obed McCoy, the left arm quick for the Windies, was the main destroyer for them with 4 for 26. We lost by 18 runs. And that just set the tone for the whole series.
Yeah.
Game 2, we got absolutely pants by 56 runs. IPL superstar Shimron Hetmeyer had 61 of 36, and Dwayne Bravo was up to his old tricks with a sneaky 47 knot at the end there, getting the Windies to a big total of 104 for 196. And everyone was stinky except for that man, Mitch Marsh.
Again?
Mitch Marsh, yeah, he had 54 on Rex, and Philippi were in double digits, and then everyone else under 10. Our middle order, geez, we'll get stuck into that in a little bit, but really looking thin there. And this is a bit of a coming out party for Hayden Walsh, the leg spinner for the Windies. He had 3 for 29. He was actually the series' highest wicket taker. You'll hear his name pop up a few more times. Game 3, the Windies win by 6 wickets. They claimed the 5-game series here. No one made
3-0 that.
Yeah, 3-0. No one made more than Moses on Rex with 33. That man Hayden Walsh was causing us all kinds of dramas again. 2 for 18 off his 4 overs. And Chris Gale, the universe boss, he's back, baby. 67 off 38 for him. And Mitch Stark, the only one of our bowlers to really talk about. We'll get to game 4 and game 5 in a sec, boys. Were you, after this, so T20s for Australians, let's be honest, we have Test cricket in the upper echelon, and then a bit of a drop down to ODI, and it seems for whatever reason Australians can't really get around T20 cricket at an international level.
Yeah.
Were you guys interested in this series by this stage, or were you kind of over it?
Probably go more kind of over it, the fact we'd lost at this point. So I might switch it up on you. I think probably T20 is, for me, higher than ODI.
At an international level?
At an international level, but I think both.
So what about the ODI World Cup win in 2015?
That's 6 years ago. So
Okay.
I'm kind of saying, I think it's taken over, but I also think both are at a level far below what Test cricket kind of internationally is.
Yeah.
And then all the Shield cricket and all the other cricket that happens is all the way down here somewhere.
We're committed to resurrecting Shield cricket here on the Esky.
100%.
We're getting that back from the dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one, it was West Indies, so not a great time zone for watching cricket for us.
True. Great on weekends, 9:30 in the morning start. Get it on while you're doing your weekend chores.
Yeah. But I guess in West Indies, like we talked about, we helped resurge West Indies cricket a couple of months ago, and they've continued their form.
Yeah, that was the Esky. I'll tell you what though, their Test cricket has been struggling, but you look at their team, they are fucking stacked.
Especially a T20 team.
Unbelievable, man.
They've been doing well on the ODIs, as mentioned in previous episodes. Like they've definitely got talent in those levels.
They're looking to go out there and win this T20 World Cup.
They could.
Come October, and there's no reason why they can't. They've won it twice before, and it's going to be, you'd think, the last time with Gale, he's 41, and Dwayne Bravo's 37, Lendl Simmons is 36. So if they want to do it any time, now is the time to do it.
It wouldn't surprise me though if Gale plays until he's 50 and just plays T20, so that's it. Like, he's just like, all I got to do, go out there and face a couple overs, try and smack as many runs as I can, and then go back in the sheds.
Bowl some marijuana balls. He was bowling with his cap on. And my old man used to always say he bowls marijuana balls because he's got the laziest bowling action you've ever seen. Like, he just comes in off 4 steps, just rolls the arm over. There's barely any fucking spin on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we won a game. Game 4 we won. We snuck home by 4 runs. That man, Mitch Marsh, he had 75 off 44, batting 3. Finchy had a 50.
How did Finchy do overall in this series?
Yeah, so you got the numbers there. So he was our second highest run scorer with 127 from 5 knocks. So, look, nothing to write home about, but averaging 25, striking at 123. You got to really look down that list there because it's full of West Indians outside of Mitch Marsh and Aaron Finch. So on Rex was our third best bat with 95 runs from 5 knocks. It's just not good enough. Our middle.
I was wondering about Finchy because in New Zealand he was a bit underdone, and then he finished the end of the season really well. And I was just wondering if he carried any of that form in.
Yeah, so
but not through the first couple of games, but he did in the fourth one.
That's right. Had the 150 there. He's actually pulled up very sore. I think it's a hammy. He was struggling in between wickets, so he may not even be available for the ODIs. So that's a bit of a scare for us. The elephant in the room is that all our IPL players, big name IPL players, weren't here. So Dave Warner, Steve Smith, Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis, Pat Cummins, to name a few. If they're there, it's a completely different story. And I don't want to sound like a, Aussie making excuses. I'm sure our Indian listeners will get at me here, cop an L, bro, et cetera, et cetera. But let's be honest, it's a completely different series if they're all playing. And fair enough, they hadn't seen their families for a long time. They'll go and play in the World Cup, and you imagine they all walk into that side. So it's
well, after this side, like I'd say, Mish Marsh is probably the only one that's played himself into a spot.
Yeah,
like the others,
he's definitely played himself in.
The rest of them, not so much.
What's he got there? 219 runs, 5 knocks, average of 43, striking over 150. So they can't not pick him, you'd imagine, on that form. And then
that's a bit of extra bowling as well.
Hazelwood was pretty good. Stark was okay. Mitch Marsh was actually the best of the bowlers too. He had got the elusive most runs and most wickets in the series. And then game 5, West Indies won that by 16 runs. They scored 199. They was looking like about 220 at one stage. That Evan Lewis, he's pretty handy. He had 79 of 35, including 9 sixes. And Sheldon Cottrell was the pick of the bowlers there with 3 for 28. So getting back to this upcoming World Cup, our group is England, South Africa, the West Indies, and then there's 2 smaller nations to be determined from the little qualifying tournament that they play before the World Cup starts. Only 2 get out of the group into the semi-finals. From what we've just seen against the West Indies, and England, probably the best white ball cricket team going around at the moment outside of India. Do we get out of the group?
Oh, it's gonna be an absolute challenge because I think South Africa, and you can remind me who they lost to during the week.
Ireland. They lost to fucking Ireland. In Ireland, but good on the Irish.
Yeah, I don't think South Africa's gonna do anything special in the World Cup.
I tend to agree.
So it'll be between. It wouldn't surprise me. No.
It's a 3-horse race.
Yeah, it is a 3-horse.
It really is a 3-horse race. And from what I've seen, we talked about that West Indian, how stacked they are here in T20 format. I'm quite worried about it.
On the day, they could win any match. So put it that way.
But
I think England would be the
like
if you played favourites, I think England would be 1, we'd be 2, and then Windies would be 3 in that list.
Pretty sure our mates at Sportsbet have got us 3rd to win the whole thing overall. That's just I don't see that at all. But let's fingers crossed. Hopefully, we can even just get out of the group, let alone winning the whole thing.
That's a tough group.
What about picking our best 11? So you'd say, I mentioned it before, Warner, Smith, hopefully he gets over this elbow injury. Maxwell, Stoinis, Cummins, they all didn't play. They all walked back into that side.
Well,
Finch.
Smith is probably the only interesting one.
You don't think?
I think he'd be in the squad, but there's always that conversation: is he as good of a T20 player as he is a batsman and everything else?
Well, the answer to that is no. He's the best Test cricket batsman over a long period of time, and a very handy ODI one, maybe the best one outside of Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
No, he's not the same T20 player. I still think he's in our best 11.
I think if Finch is definitely hurt, he'll fly. He'll get straight in without any issue. But I thought, there's a few that possibly you could make a case for, but with how there's a few of them I was thinking about, like Philippe and the others. They did in on reeks and stuff. They did shit house in against the West Indies. So I don't think if they'd played well, maybe you'd make that conversation.
And you feel for Philippe, only 3 opportunities, but didn't make runs at all. We were talking about him in the Big Bash. Really like him. He's young. He's flamboyant. He's good looking young rooster, and it was really his chance to shine over there. They do go and play Bangladesh for 5 games over there. True. So that's going to be the last audition for these last. Let's say there's 4 spots available.
So Wade and McDermott were the other ones I was thinking of, the 2 Hurricane boys.
So McDermott had 2 knocks, didn't do anything, and Wade played all 5 and only made 87 at 17.4. Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure on Wade to keep a spot in that top order.
So I'd say there's not enough spots, of course. There, we're talking about five spots. So I think Smith you'd take him over these guys because they haven't performed, and you'd go with the legend that is Steve Smith and put him in there.
Yep, I think he bats 3. I think Warner and Finch open.
If Finch is hurt,
well, he's got a hamstring strain, and it's July, and we're talking about October. So I think he's fine.
He's fine.
Touch wood. Touch wood. Old Finch, he probably could stand to lose of probably 10 kgs. He might make the soft tissue stuff a bit easier. But anyways, Shane Warne was one of the best cricketers of all time.
He's on that Latrell Mitchell diet.
No, he's on that diuretic from his mama.
So minus Labuschagne doesn't get a shout?
In a T20 side, no. Get him ready for the Ashes. He hasn't been playing any short format cricket.
He did, of course, want to be in this series, but they wouldn't send him over and said stay there, play county. So be interesting to see if he gets involved at all.
Yeah,
in the World Cup,
blokes that aren't in that squad at the moment, your Labuschanes, your Nathan Lyons, your Cam Greens, just play fucking heaps of red ball cricket and end of November, get ready to beat these stinking Wembley invading nudity running through the streets.
What's wrong with the nudity?
Nudity's it's okay. There's a time and a place. Let's leave that at
Hot
that.
meat kettle.
Yeah, sure. Anyways. I'm excited for the Ashes. This T20 World Cup, I'm concerned about. But again, I hate to keep flogging a dead horse. But I think with those 5 guys, IPL guys back, it's a completely different story.
From the guys that were with West Indies, are any of those guys going to go play in the IPL when it restarts? Considering they're all these tournaments are probably going to be roughly in the same spot.
Yep. So Gale was playing. Hetmeyer had a team.
Aussies, sorry.
Oh, Aussies?
Yeah, so Aussies hasn't get some form leading. Yeah,
that's a good question. It's
for Australians, I didn't think any, but then
it's all going to depend on what the COVID situation's like. Even going to the Emirates and Oman, which has been a lot better with their COVID numbers than India has. Yeah,
they're playing both, aren't they? They're going to do the IPL there and then roll straight into the World Cup being there as well.
Correct. Yep. So I'd imagine so. As long as they're not getting tens of thousands of COVID cases a day, like we saw when they all wanted to get out of the IPL.
So some of the Aussies could go over there and play some of the IPL games. They'd be away from home for say 4 months to get at that point to get through there, but
and get a bunch of experience behind them.
Yeah, get some form.
A bunch of form, I should say.
Yeah.
All right,
something to track, and we'll watch that and let you guys know as we get closer to those tournaments.
Yeah, we got those 3 ODIs coming up, and then Bangladesh next month. England and Pakistan. This was an interesting series because pretty much, I think it was like the night or 2 days before the first ODI, the whole England team got canned because of COVID. Did you see anything about this? What happened? I think a couple of them got it, and then because they're all close contacts, they're just like, everyone's done.
Well, what are they? No, there's 2 bowlers and 4 batsmen. So I was going to say maybe it was the bowling room or the batting room, but it's spread out, so it's
You're
the
fucked
loss.
either way. You're fucked. Yeah. So pretty much they had to call in England B.
Yeah.
And they've done an outstanding job. They won the ODIs 3-0. They didn't really look like losing. Well, actually, game 3 was close, but game 1 and game 2, they absolutely coasted. So we're talking without the likes of Owen Morgan, your captain, without Joe Root, no Josh Butler, no Johnny Bairstow, Moeen Ali, Jofra Archer, etc., etc., etc. So England B goes out there and they skittle them for 141. Saqib Mahmood, remember the name, 4 for 42 off his 10 overs, did a really good job there. And David Malan and Zach Crawley got the runs easy. Game 2, much the same, except they batted first, and Phil Salt and James Vince got the Poms to 247. Bowlers shared the poles, bowled them out for 195. England win by 52 runs. Dead rubber was the best game by far. So Pakistan went out there and made 9 for 331. Babar Azam 158. He's so good. Like, I tell you what, you talk about blokes having sore backs carrying teams. If Babar Azam isn't in that Pakistan team right now, they are in a world of hurt. And his partner in crime, Mohammad Rizwan, had 74 there. They had 179 for the 3rd wicket, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. They got chased down. James Vince made 102, and some nice late hitting from Lewis Gregory got the Poms home there. They win the ODIs 3-0 with their second side. We talk about Australia lacking depth. Do you reckon Australia B is doing this to any? In Australia is a different story. If it's in Australia, maybe it's you could make an argument that it's going to happen.
But we just saw Australia 1B go out there and get pants by West Indies.
In the West Indies.
Pakistan as well.
Yeah, look, we don't have the depth England has at the moment. Let's put it that way. That's the easiest way to put it. We're not.
Yeah, I agree.
We're not having a completely different squad come in 2 days beforehand and blitzing an international cricket team, even if it is just Pakistan, who, mind you, aren't. They're not Sri Lanka at the moment. Let's
True.
Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way.
Or South Africa, one of the other ones. So,
Yeah.
Well, would you see Australia 1B beat this England team?
As in
England here. Yeah, I think. Look,
here, different story. There, probably not.
Here, yeah. Anyways, apples and oranges. The
pitch in the country makes
the take-home message. The take-home message is that England's depth is far, far better than ours is at the moment in white ball cricket.
Yep.
So the T20 game, 3-game T20 series is on at the moment. Pakistan won. That man again, Babar Azam, smacked 85, and they made 232 in 20 overs. Unbelievable.
That's good.
A century from Liam Livingston for the Poms off just 43 balls, and they lost. Not too often that happens, that you'll score. Or your opener will score 100 chasing in a 2020 game and you lose. England settled the series in game 2. Josh Butler's back. He made 59. So game 3 will be the decider. That's Tuesday night over in England.
Yep.
Sri Lanka and India is underway. I think India won comfortably last night, the first ODI. We'll have a greater look at that Thursday, I think, because we're doing 2 podcasts this week.
Yeah.
For all your listening needs.
I think they'll spank them on all 3, I'd say, with the way Sri Lankan cricket's going.
Yeah, when we talk about B-sides, so India's literally got their pretty much a B-side over there, captained by Shikhar Dhawan, and they will do this
easy,
comfortably.
Almost like Ireland beating South Africa.
So funny. In the fucking Irish. It wasn't all bad for Irish fans in the week of sport. Conor McGregor's fucking broken his leg, but Ireland beat South Africa in the cricket. How good. Shout out skipper Andy Balbirnie. I'm sure I said that incorrectly. Got a ton and got them a win against South Africa. That'll wrap up our cricketing news.
Definitely. So that's cricket for this week, and we'll now move into some NRL, and we're going to kick off with a State of Origin. I can get some stats. So, State of Origin last Wednesday. A couple, 5 days now?
5 days, yeah. That's an eternity in the sports podcasting world. Again, my apologies for going on holiday. Getting at it late. Sandra Sully with the late news here.
You were behind enemy lines for this one.
Big time. And
were you getting fed in the pub?
A little bit. I was getting a little bit lippy. My wife can definitely attest to that. I thought it was going to be fairly neutral, being a holiday destination. And then I forgot Greater Sydney's in lockdown.
Yeah.
So the only other people there were Victorians who, for whatever reason, they're all fucking Queensland supporters. We've got the
They don't like Sydney Boomers.
Well, we've got the Melbourne Storm to thank for that.
Yeah. Well, I think the rest of the New South Wales supporters were probably in the Gold Coast at this match. So
there was a lot of blue there, wasn't there?
There was a lot of blue.
I think that kind of proves that the Gold Coast is where all the retirees go.
Yeah, possibly.
And the ex-blue baggers at this rate. So
and also geographically, I guess.
It's closer to the border,
closer. Easier to get to the Gold Coast than Townsville, say, in game one.
Yes. So the result, New South Wales did not get a sweep. Queensland did win this game 20-18, my favourite score. I didn't say it last week, but I've been saying it for the other two. So
imagine if you put a tenner on that.
Yeah, getting close.
Right.
It was interesting, as mentioned, big crowd that were, well, not a huge crowd, but there was a crowd there that supported pretty much New South Wales. Queensland were booed heavily when they ran out. DC in the post-match was booed again. I think they probably weren't very happy about him. And, of course, Titan fans never forget.
Maybe some salty Titans fans there. DCE famously reneging on going up there on a big contract a few years ago. Yeah, so maybe a few salt in the wounds up there of Gold Coast Titans
They
fans.
do not love him on the Gold Coast.
No. But let's have a recap of the game. Val Holmes got the scoring underway with that penalty goal, and then Latrell Mitchell drew first blood in the 10th minute, grabbed that pass from Jack Whiten and scored pretty easily past his teammate Gagai. They were into each other all evening and all series, really.
All series, yeah.
And then a nice story for Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. He had his dream debut, scoring in the 18th minute. It was Munster that released Big Tino, who had the offload for the assist. And then, speaking of Tino, you must have been impressed with him. He was fucking and Big Tommy Turbo and the Fox, and he played the game of his series, I thought.
Well, him and Capewell, I think, really added extra on the edges, which then maybe nullified Latrell and Big Turbo a little bit. So
it's like you pick a second rower in the second row, and look how well they play. Fucking rocket science.
Well, we talk a little bit about the other specialists. So Val Holmes, I thought, was really good. I think his game style very much mirrors what Brian To'o does for New South Wales, which is a hard-running winger. He plays out of position for me as a fullback. Yes, he is a legend there, but I don't think his defence and his overall attacking prowess from fullback is as good as his run meters and hard yards he gets from winger. You talk about Ben Hunt playing hooker. I think excellent for the Gold Coast in that regards. Like you kind of see that for Queensland in the Gold Coast. Sorry, he was excellent in the way he kind of controlled and ran that side of round, and I of course wrapped him after the second one. His guidance really helped in that period where he came on. So I really. And we went back and forth talking about how he kind of fits for the Dragons, but I think his game naturally fits a hooker. I just don't think he could play a whole season playing that position.
There's a lot of tackles.
It's a lot. They're paying 41, I think, in this game. So, and paying him big money, you can get the same very similar kind of result out of him playing halfback. But I think he just adds like that little. You can just see when he's in a position, and all these guys in a position that fits their style of play and their talents, that it just clicks. It's just like Kurt Capewell again. He's literally moved one position in, and it was just a completely different in that process. More confident, I guess, in that role. And then having a specialist fullback in Ponga, the X factor, just really added to the side, and they. The chemistry, they just gelled a lot better in that.
Yeah, Ponga was a huge difference. Huge difference.
And we talked all series about where's the X factor going to come from? Not having Harry Grant and Ponga playing at the same time, you really lose all that X factor for them. Kind of makes me a little bit down on DCE. I think he's a really good serviceable game manager halfback, but I don't think he adds enough in the side.
Who would you pick instead?
That's the problem. I don't think he can pick anyone else. We're all going to talk about Sam Walker and whether that'll be his role.
Yeah, in 3 years' time after DCE's played another 3 Origin.
Exactly. You're not going to rush him into that squad next year.
No.
Barring an injury to DCE.
Yeah, he's probably back a step from where he was. I thought he was still pretty good in this game, and it's pretty hard when, obviously Cleary didn't play in this, but Nathan Cleary is head and shoulders above anyone playing 7 at the moment. Yeah. So to be compared against him, I don't know, it's pretty rough on old Daly.
I like you bring that up because I think that was kind of the difference. The difference in this game was, Ben Hunt and Ponga
Yep.
And the guy's playing in their position, and then you take out Cleary and Louis.
Yeah.
You could see that was the difference which brought this game together.
I think I just said Leary and Kluai. Cleary and Luai.
Yeah. Oh, they got a bromance going. It's all good.
That's right.
They'll throw in a bit of Toto as well.
One and the same.
It is really weird though. Like Cherry Evans is one of the best players out there at his position.
The highest paid man in the NRL.
Well, that's the thing. He's the highest
for
paid.
Origin. He just does nothing. Like he doesn't.
Well,
he just doesn't. He seems so quiet on the field though.
Yeah, and then what concerns me, because go back to Manly, they stunk. Turbo comes back, they were good. DCE was there when they started.
When they started 0-4, DCE was there running the ship.
So I just whether he's that game manager, guy there. He's not the guy that probably put you over the edge. You need elite talent around him to help put him over there. So
and you probably put Tommy Turbo at Manly. I'm talking about not in Origin, obviously, but you probably put him around any seven and make them look a lot better. But I don't know. I wouldn't say he does nothing.
I'm not saying he does nothing.
He just seems very quiet.
Yeah, he does it. He does his role, but he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. Ponga or Munster, stepping blokes, making busts, or putting guys in holes.
And again, that's not his role to be their ball player.
Yeah, but his try assist numbers, I think, were down in the entire series. Munster, you can find that out if you want for me. But I don't think he added enough in that squad where he needed to. Not thinking his kicking game was magical, but then Ben Hunt and Munster really took on that role. So he was playing second fiddle to them anyway. So,
Anyways, we got to about halftime. Let's go through the second half. New South Wales actually dominated possession for, I think, about the first 15 minutes of the second half. Jack Whiten scored in the 48th minute. We spoke about it before when talking about game 2. Isaiah Yeo playing first receiver, one of the best ball-playing locks getting around at the moment. And Mitch Moses had a try assist. He actually had 2 in the second half here. We'll get to him in just a second. Ben Hunt, we spoke about. He levelled the scores with that try burrowing under Haas and Coruscant, and then scored again off the back of that long Kalen Ponga line break. 68th minute, Mitch Moses puts Appy Coruscant through. And the backlash against Mitch Moses this week was... on social media was appalling. I thought
they lost. That is really it.
He just got scapegoated.
Pretty much. Him and Jack got scapegoated.
They played good. Both of them played well. They didn't play Cleary well.
Yeah,
but
that was the thing. And then they got the Mitch Pearce comparisons.
God, and no hate against Mitch Pearce either. And they're both Mitchells. They're both really good defensive halfbacks. He defends the line really well. His kicking game, I thought, was pretty good, especially in the second half. A little bit absent in the first, but coming in for your first Origin game, fuck me, leave a bloke alone.
And we got to remember, Mitch Pearce run into 4 of the greatest of all time players.
That's right. Positions. Yeah, exactly. All that hate against Mitch Pearce, maybe you put him in this side and maybe they win. So, I don't know. I just hate the keyboard warriors that will just, they want to blame someone. They want to rip someone to shreds. Mate, it was the biggest series win ever. They didn't get the clean sweep, sure, but fuck, to go after
points
a bloke,
differential.
To go after a bloke like that made me a bit ill, I thought.
Yes.
But the last, we were speaking about it, and you definitely been speaking about it as a Queensland fan. We were missing that tough, it's anything can happen right till the 80th minute, back and forth contest.
Yep.
We missed that in game 1 and game 2. New South Wales fans, maybe not so much, but definitely Queensland fans and the neutral viewer definitely missed that. So we got that. The last 10 minutes was insane. It was back and forth. I actually had to rewatch today because I was my memory was a bit blurry going back to Wednesday night. Gut full of Milton mangoes up there. But so we had that try-saving touch really on that pass.
The knockdown.
The knockdown. I'm talking about Kalen Ponga, of course, on that pass between Turbo and Teddy. And then
I think just to cover on this, I think Turbo probably should have been a bit more selfish on this one because when they show the head-on shot and where Ponga is, it doesn't matter how poorly his dummy was, he's scoring because Ponga is so far inside shoulder on it.
He was committed to the ball.
I think Turbo just needed to have a quick look out of his eye and go, oh, he's a little bit further over, dummy this, and I'm scoring under the post.
And again, we're talking about a
split
second decision.
Like,
but also, you're the best player in the world.
Yeah. He's been perfect the entire Origin series, and the one mistake he makes could win them the game. And it was just like, oh. But hey, credit to Ponga to, kind of put him in that position, the two minds, and then do enough to then prevent either him or Teddy scoring that try. So
for sure. What did you think about the Munster block on Liam Martin? It went upstairs. It was no penalty. He held his line and sort of put a little bit of a shepherd on. Martin went down.
I think this one was okay. There was an earlier one in the match, I think it was on Latrell.
Yep.
And Latrell significantly changed direction and came, say, sideways across the field.
Yeah, that's definitely a penalty.
Yeah.
All day of the week.
I think on this one on Munster, he just threw on the brakes heavily.
Threw on the brakes and threw his arms out.
Yeah.
I think Freddie was pretty irate about this.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I'm bleed blue, I'm happy with that not being a penalty. Stood his ground. But yeah, it might have been a divisive or decisive even point of the game there. And AJ Brimson come on late in the game there. Did you see the haircut on the bloke? He's rocking a fried tuck. A fucking fried tuck. Shit, AJ.
He was ended up being a good pick because I don't think he was ever going to play 14 real well.
No. He's not a hooker. He's not a utility.
But then losing Val Holmes with the AC injury and he's going to miss a month.
Yep.
Having a guy that could play in the back line ended up being a pretty good, get there. Because he went and played centre essentially. They pushed out Harris, I think, out to the wing at that point, and he played in the centre spot. So, which was next to Catewell, which I think they had played pretty well in the past last year's series. So, it ended up being a good kind of in there, and got lucky that they needed someone in the back line for that. So, didn't help Ben Hunt. He had to play the whole game, and then
he's unreal. He's unreal,
and then backed up 2 nights later. So, like, big credit to him.
Big time.
Bigger credit don't go to barbecue. So,
yeah, well, that's right. Apparently, he got the text message.
I think all the boys got the text message of the call, and he was just like, "Well, I'm going away to Origin." Like, all the Origin boys, I think it said the same thing. Going away, I'm just going to chill here because I fly out tomorrow.
Yeah, and as a Dragons fan, thank you, thank you, boys, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Mitch Moses got his head taken off right at the death there by Christian Welch.
Yeah, Welch was lucky.
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago,
if this was Magic Round,
he's getting beat. He's getting sent off.
Peter Volandis would have got a cross out, put it on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and crucified them both.
100%.
This is what would have happened 2 months ago, and now we've changed our tune because it was making for horrible spectating, and it is State of Origin football.
Yes.
Also, as well, if you send the bloke with 2 minutes to go, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's like banging your head against the wall following this sport sometimes, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, I'm sick of talking about all that crap. And I will talk about reffing in a minute because there is some interesting kind of tidbits that come out of that. What did you think about Latrell and the 50-metre penalty?
He has to go for it.
Yeah.
He struck
That's
it well.
all he can do.
Well, I think, there was 3 minutes to go and they spent probably 90 seconds of that trying to take this. If anything, maybe wanted Latrell to take a little bit quicker. But think about it then, you get a full set essentially, possibly to get the ball back.
Okay, yeah.
But having said that, you could tie the game up at this point.
And
So you don't want to run through it and risk it and then
that's right.
shank the bitch out of there.
You're rushing your processes and
yeah.
I can speak from my own golf game, when I'm rushing and I'm not going through my own routine, I'll slice it and put it on the next fairway to the right. And then when I go through a routine and it's
2 fairways
balanced, it's on the fairway to the right. So, but again, apples and oranges. I'm not comparing my golf game to Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah, I think it was worth it because he ended up only being, say, 5 metres short.
He struck it sweet off the boot. It looked like it was going over.
I'm straight down the middle, and it just didn't have the legs, unfortunately. But, in that situation, I think you can't deny him taking that. Like, yes, maybe they can kick for the corner and they'll get a full set in that time frame, say 30 out, but Queensland's defense at that point had been pretty good compared to had been in the previous 2 games.
Yeah, no, I think it was the right decision.
What about kicking for touch and then going for 2-point conversion? 10 metres difference.
The 2-point field goal.
Get an extra 10 metres, possible, but
That's harder. That's,
off the tee is
harder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tee you
Harder, but
get
still.
more distance than you would off trying to drop kick it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. We've been lucky to be treated to a few of those because when they brought it in at the start of the year, I was like, this is a fucking gimmick of a rule.
Adam Reynolds, I think, has got a couple of them. So he's just the main one.
That Val Holmes one a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That tell you what, that was fucking. I was going 65 meters, but
So it can be done.
I think they made the right decision.
Oh, yeah.
So we spoke about Hunt, Ponga, big games, Capewell in the right position, played well.
Yep.
Tommy Turbo, Wally Lewis medal, well deserved.
Fair.
I thought 561 run meters, 13 tackle busts,
Got a big cut in this
4
game too as
tries,
well.
and he looked like a bad. Normally he just looks a bit sexy. He looked like a bad motherfucker up there, accepting the Wally
Probably needed
Lewis
6
medal.
or so stitches in that thing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a nice deep
Friendly
long
fire
one.
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Head clash.
But
Or elbow.
to score 4 tries and 5 try involvements in a series, unbelievable. He's the best player in the world right now. We've spoken about him at length before. The last thing I wanted to sort of ask about the game in particular was the Shield presentation. So should they be doing it after game 2? There wasn't too many fans that stuck around. It was raining. It was a school night. The blokes had all driven up to get to the
exactly.
anyways, by the sounds. They booed the fuck out of DCE though, the few people that were there. Do you think the presentation should just be after game 2?
It's hard to say because I was just quickly trying to run through my head if there's any other series that then does a presentation at that point.
Yeah.
But all those ones that I could think of, they don't then play the last game.
Well, cricket will. So cricket's one that I can think of. But
Yeah, okay, yeah, so yeah, they
but
present
it's the
Ashes
same,
and
but it's the same thing. They'll do it. Actually, well, it depends on the cricket tournament as well. Again, apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it at the end of game 2. I think because this happened to Queensland a lot as well, where they had one in the first 2, and then New South Wales saved the sweep in the third one, and it's kind of that
present the trophy in
that
Sydney. so.
bittersweet, you've just lost kind of feeling about it.
I don't know. You know, Gus, of course, in his infinite wisdom, came out with the 5-game series. So after the you've won 3,
Then you call it off.
yeah, then you call off. You don't play the last 2, but you still get 3 games, of course, and you get 2 more. But it's interesting.
Cashman Volandis wouldn't mind that. It's more games.
It was interesting. They're keen for more State of Origin games, but not keen to go to play international in the World Cup. So it's a bit interesting, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a second.
Different
I think
stories.
There's a Coco.
Different reasons.
Yeah, reason to that. Anyways, that was something I thought might be nice, is having the Shield present to the team after game 2. Yeah. Looking forward to the 2022 Origin series. Does that game give you some hope, Sean?
Before we get to that, can I talk about some refereeing in this?
Yeah, sure. You could have answered the question and then gone back, but
I want to go to...
It's getting on his soapbox here.
No, before we go look back, I wanted to... Before we look forward, I want to finish looking back. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we got that.
So it was really interesting in the first half. I think there was 15 set restarts across both teams.
Yep.
Both teams, I think, had the right same coaching. It was like, let's take the piss out of this.
Yeah.
Because they put it away. So essentially they take it out of the ref's hands.
Yep.
I don't think he called that many in the second half at all, but then they gave more penalties, which then made the game closer, which was interesting. And I only caught some of the Raiders game and a couple of the other games through the week. It's interesting. I think the NRL's tried to fix 2 problems with the same solution. So you had the problem with high contact, and they've taken a very weak stance on it again compared to where they were a month ago, and the game is too quick. So they're like, well, how because they kind of removed all the penalties. So how do you think they put more penalties back in? We'll penalise all the high shots and take it out. So anything that touches, like, instead of bins, instead of like lots more penalties.
Yep.
So in all the kind of close games this week, there was the actual penalty rate was a lot higher than it had been.
Yeah,
so you had the set restarts, but then you had the penalties, and as I used the analogy a couple of weeks ago, as the rounds in the boxing match essentially. So then the lowest squads could go and get in it, slowed the game down a bit, and it kind of, to me, looks probably like a little bit of directive there. The refs are now calling those high shots as penalties to get in that break, as we're talking about.
Slowed the games down, and there was only one blowout on the weekend, which was the Storm Knights game.
Yeah, and we don't want to talk about Brisbane and the West Tigers, but Brisbane were in front of that, and then Tigers roared back.
Sure, it wasn't a massive blowout.
But they got kind of back into that game, so it wouldn't surprise me. I didn't watch it, of course, because West Tigers and Brisbane. Like, who watches games that aren't Penrith or Storm at the moment?
Mate, this bloke used to live and breathe the Brisbane Broncos. How the mighty have fallen.
The whole league. Let's be honest, the whole league. I barely watch any of the league as it is. It's just, it'd be interesting to. My only point is it'd be interesting to see how the coming weeks go, whether we start to get some of those closer games. They've definitely taken a lesser stance on the binning of send binning, unless it's, totally
blatant,
bad, like really bad. Like you've definitely come out of, taking some dude's head off that you will end up, say, in the sin bin. I don't think there's been a send off in a couple of weeks.
No, I can't think of. Yeah, there've been a few binnings, but not what was one round? It was fucking 18 sin binnings in a round or something.
In 3 send offs, I think, too. So
ridiculous.
So silly. So
they've done a big old backflip on that.
Big time.
Moving forward.
So looking forward, hope moving forward, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Look, think of this Queensland side. It was a banged up Queensland side.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So if you could pick the best 13, they went out there. So you had a significant number of them, of course.
Yep.
A few of them, injury clouds underdone. Harry Grant, Munster, and Welsh were all underdone going into the first game. Mm-hmm. Welsh definitely in the second one. Mm-hmm. Not having Ponga there is a difference.
Massive.
Not having their best back line.
Didn't play game one as well, and
big oversight now when you think about it and how he's played. Who's going to play hooker for them going forward? Maybe it's Reed Marnie comes in and he does that job, but again, young fella. Maybe Ben Hunt he's now locked that down for Queensland. So,
well, what about Harry Grant?
Exactly, Harry Grant, and then Ben Hunt's the 14. So.
Yep. Yeah,
I think it's they can definitely win and compete against New South Wales. I don't think it's that dire.
Yeah,
there's going to, the worst Queensland team ever won last year, so still got that to throw out there.
Yeah, fuck, that was a bad loss. It should be 4 in a row, which we really should be talking about 4 in a row. Look, that game has to give you a bit of hope. The series itself, still was the biggest series loss in terms of points.
Yeah,
ever.
but I'd also say that's current NRL too. You look at how the rest of the league's playing, playing on the same rules as that's just the way it is.
Well, what were we talking about a few weeks ago? 19 points is the...
When's the last time Melbourne won a game? Sorry, not lost. Won a game by less than 13 points.
Once against the Gold Coast. But literally, this winning streak that they're on, it's been one game that they've won 1-12 and everything else is 13 plus.
Yes. And some of those 13 pluses are a lot higher than that too. They're 20 or 30 plus.
Or 40 or 50.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the state of play of where the NRL is at the moment. It's kind of reflecting some of those score lines. So as they will tweak the rules again next week and the week after, it'll be a completely different game next year. So we'll see what that looks like. It might be Oztag by that point.
Yeah, possibly. I still think that back 5 and with Cleary and Luai available, I think it's the next few years New South Wales should really have the upper hand. But we've spoken about it before. Every year, really, New South Wales should have the upper hand, except for the 8 in a row when three of the best footballers ever to live happen to play together. But I think moving forward, it sucks a little bit that they didn't get the clean sweep, but they got the series win, and if it wasn't for last year, we'd be talking about 4 in a row in what should really be a New South Wales dynasty, I think.
Got to win 5. You got to win 5 to be a dynasty, I reckon.
5 to be a dynasty?
Yeah. So 5 from 6.
So we should be 1 away.
We
should be fucking 1 away.
Yeah. So I think if they win the next 2, then 5 and 6, like I'm saying, that's a dynasty.
All right, I'm with
that's a dynasty. Okay. So, 3 for 4.
What about 5 out of 10? Does that count as a dynasty?
No.
In a 2-horse race?
No, not at all.
All right. Let's wrap that state of origin up. I need to go take a quick wee.
Yep.
Can you run us through the NRL news?
Yeah, so just to reflect back where the league is currently, the league is all in Queensland and in the Gold Coast. So some jokes about football coming home is now in Queensland because the whole entire league's there. Because of the Coco, there's lockdowns in both Melbourne, both Victoria and New South Wales.
Yep. New South Wales, obviously, they're very heavily hit one at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Spread to Victoria, and Victoria, of course, got theirs. Blaming them again. Their 5th lockdown in 12 months, I think it is.
Something like that,
So they're deep in lockdown. Queensland's had a couple of cases, but they're not been as bad, and they've let the league go in there. So they're playing across all of, say, the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast locations. Of course, Suncorp as well, back up in Brisbane. I think they're trying to avoid Brisbane a little bit as much as possible, just in case, because of the cases.
They were talking about having another Magic round, though.
Yeah, well, they've kind of got mini Magic rounds.
Yeah, they have to. 3 stadiums.
3 stadiums, a heap of head-to-heads, back-to-back games in that. So, I had during the early week that I was like, the NRL could end up getting suspended here, purely because Brisbane had Gold Coast had not Gold Coast, Queensland had a couple of cases. That if like Sydney and Victoria, it's skyrocketed, then Queensland's going to go on a lockdown. There's nowhere on the East Coast to play rugby league. I don't think they're really going to play. You
can't move it to
west, like anywhere out west, because none of those places are really huge grounds for rugby league. Maybe they could play without fans or something like that. Do what they're essentially doing now, a bubble. But I kind of, if it got to that point, that's where I'm saying the NRL could have got suspended. But at the moment, they're still going. Of course, perhaps kind of mentioned before, there's a lot of money still involved in the rugby league. They're spending a lot of money to keep it going, but they also need to make money. And that was kind of my concern. If they ever suspended it, would the rugby league ever recover from that, considering how tight their ship they're running at the moment just to stay funded?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm repeating anything that you've just said, but I don't see it getting suspended.
So my point was only if Queensland had more cases than they do they go into lockdown and the whole East Coast is in lockdown. 2/3 at the moment. So that was if we got to that point, I was like, they can't go west.
No.
So,
Mate, Canberra. Hasn't been any COVID here for 9 months. Touch wood.
Everyone come. We'll play
Magic
8 games a week.
Down here, be awesome. The top of 6 degrees. Yeah, players that love it. No nightlife.
Yeah, they forced Canberra, of course, to move, so we've got no cases in them. But to keep the whole league going,
because we're part of New South Wales.
Yeah, I love though how News Corp very much deep on getting stuck on the Peter Volander's dick in this and saying how he's absolutely saved rugby league yet again. Of course, one News Corp's going to do it because they're a major sponsor of the league, and also Channel 9 makes all their money. Like they're trying to sell shit, but
maybe he's got a good dick.
Yeah, true. But at this point, like his balls are rubbing on James Hooper's bloody tonsils at this, mate. He's got it so far down his throat.
Jesus.
The amount of shit he talks about how Peter Volanders is, saving rugby league is like, people kind of don't get like, he saved it last year. And he's like, they saved $50 million, whatever it is.
Yep.
You sacked like 200 people to do it. Like he did have to fire people that don't have a job anymore.
Their players took a cut as well. Can't imagine Big Dick Pete took a cut.
No, yeah. So he's a good businessman doing business. Like, okay, cool. Excellent. But, the on-field product, stop fucking with that. Worry about the business.
Yeah. And leave the on-field product alone.
Yes.
We will get stuck into what's been going on in England a little bit later in the show in terms of some other sports. There's a lot of COVID over there at the moment. Yep. What we had? Like 50,000 the other day on Sunday. It's like 38,000 or something today. They get more cases of COVID in a day than we've had the entire pandemic.
Yep.
What have you read here about the Kangaroos? That they haven't signed. They're the only team that hasn't signed an agreement for the World Cup, is what I've seen. Can you elaborate?
I can't
more
remember
on
if it was Abdo or Volanders that came out and said it. It's like, offhand comment. It was like, we might not be able to go over to England to do the World Cup. So,
and then it's all been blown out of proportion from that.
Yeah, well, I think Volanders is kind of trying to push because the World Cup's not run by league here. Of course, it's run by the International Rugby League, and the International Rugby League's sick of the Australian, the Premier kind of clode pushing their agenda on them. So it's a little bit of back and forth in the media, leaking stories and we're not going to go over there. And for Rugby League World Cup, I'm going to throw out a random stat and say 80% of their players are in our comp, maybe.
It's pretty random. But yeah, you are right.
Like, it's significant.
When you look at Samoa and Tonga and New Zealand,
Lebanon.
yeah, pretty much everyone is playing in the NRL or playing in Australia.
Yeah.
Like the only other major comps are in England, or a few of the boys do play in their island nations. But yeah, essentially everyone plays here.
Yeah, so a significant number of. So if the Australians can't, like the Aussie Kangaroos aren't going, what about everyone else that's been playing here in NRL? I think the big concern, of course, is go there. This, with the bubble and all the restrictions they've got, if they go there, then when they come back, trying to sort it all out to then restart rugby league next year season, and all the logistic nightmares and whatever. That just like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm busy trying to save rugby league for the second time.
Oh, big dick. I tell you what seems like a blatantly obvious solution.
Yeah.
Have the World Cup here.
Yeah, but I'd say yes. But you talk about the money. England's probably paid shitloads of money to have it played over there.
Swap.
They want to
Straight swap.
Yeah, true. But you want to grow the international game as well. And if you want to grow it in Europe, England, that's the best place for it.
Fuck, I feel sorry for the players, man. Like going through all the bubbles and especially the Warriors who had to do it all last year. But now everyone being moved to Queensland over the last month or so, and for the foreseeable future, everyone's going to be up there.
They could play the entire rest of the season there, and the grand final could be at Suncorp.
That really could happen. Time will tell. And then to have to go and do bubbles again over in England, man, no one's seeing their families. And that's probably a good segue into what happened with Will Chambers.
Yeah.
So he went on a 24-hour road trip. He breached the bubble, so he left Queensland to get down to Melbourne, where his wife was in labour. I'm not sure what happened if he ended up getting... he ended up clearing it, I think, with Verlandis and Abdo after the fact. I think is what happened.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he had permission or not.
Yeah, the story, like, and again...
It changes.
And it's grubby journalism. It's whatever. It's going to get dickheads talking about it and drink beers on a fucking Monday night. Like, get a life, seriously. His wife's in labour, and he's just made the call, and then he got there for the birth, and then drove from
Turned around
and drove from Melbourne back to Queensland. Yep. So he'll now quarantine. He didn't play on the weekend. And look, there might be some implications for his career because he's only on that short contract, and if he misses 2 or 3 games out of this, my question to you is: would you have done it?
Depends if it was the first one.
Come on now. All oldest children. Probably got the oldest complex going on a little bit here. Exactly. It's a tough call. And gone are the days. If we're talking about...
If it was his 8th kid, maybe not so much. But
well, we'll talk about back in the 80s. Mate, the cricketers used to just jump on a plane, see you, Dale, see you in 4 months kind of thing. Good luck. I think good on him. And
I agree.
Getting out of there, and look, his future is probably on the line. He's had a great career as it is. Nothing to prove. He was part of that Queensland dynasty for a long time. I personally think good on you, Will, for doing it. And if you miss a couple games, I'm sure his teammates understand. And Benji also did the same thing. I think he must have cleared it prior or whatever. So he opted not to play this weekend for the birth of his child. Who was number 2? I'm pretty sure there. But yeah, I think.
Well, if you like being married, yes, you're going to be there.
If you like being married, well put. Curtis Scott. So he's officially got his suspension. 3 games and a $15,000 fine for his scrap at Kokomo's back in May 30. Because on in Kokomo's, doesn't it? Shit out.
Not a place where you want to start fights. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Interesting that came down from the league because there was no charges or anything. Formally, that was all.
So no trouble with the coppers?
No, because no one actually came forward with a complaint. But I actually think then someone later on, after this came out, then the dude actually did come forward. It made a complaint.
Right.
But I think he's done with the Raiders. They're probably sick of him at this point.
Okay, so that's
plus looking at some of the young talent they've got coming through in the back line.
Savage.
Like,
we'll talk about
put a line through. He's like, we'll get that money back
Thursday. I think because
Curtis, we need your money. We need to go buy a halfback.
Yep. Yeah. So he definitely has put his career in jeopardy there. But because they backdated the suspension, he's already missed 3 games and some more.
Yep.
It potentially could play for him on the weekend. Mind you, Jared Croker's back healthy. Sebastian Chris been playing really well. Xavier Savage goes well at, we're in the one. So yeah, Curtis Scott, he might be done with the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't think they'd find a spot for him, especially with a few other we're not talking about Simons is injured, and they had
Shanzi Nickel Clockstad's injured.
Yeah, injured, and what's the other young fella that played on the wing for them?
It's your team, dude. Great viewing, great listening even. I'll tell you what will be even better listening. Some fucking rugby union chat on the Esky. Dun, dun, dun. This is just about a first, I think. The Wallabies, they won a series.
We don't even talk about rugby when it's dying, so.
And we'll talk.
We talked a little bit about it last season.
We talked about
TV deals and
TV deals in the hope that it would possibly revive rugby union.
Cursed it though.
They cursed it. It hasn't though.
Fucking Raylene's got a lot to answer for there, doesn't she?
Well, let's put a flag in the history of rugby union where the Israel Folau and all that shit happened, and everything's been downhill since then,
hasn't it?
Because bad publicity is good publicity. In this case, it probably wasn't. There was just so much shit and talk about it. All the casuals were like, "This is stupid. I'm not interested in that," and they all left.
And we were talking about that today in the groupie. Is that, you were saying, rugby's dead. Well, it's not dead. It's not dead.
They still packed out stadiums, but you got the hardcores.
And it's the hardcores. Amongst the casual fans, rugby is dying massively. And hands on our hearts, 3 casual fans here, we all much prefer watching rugby league. Game 2, I didn't even realise it was on.
Well, they've played 3 games against France, and I haven't seen a single ad for any of them.
No. Mate, well, that's the thing. You can't watch it anywhere. You have to.
I think their marketing team is a carrier pigeon. It's one. it's got the ARU. It's got a little green and gold ARU vest, and they send it round to go tell people that the game's on. I haven't seen any fucking advertising for it, and it's on Stan, isn't it? The
sports stand.
Well, the test would have been on
sports stand. Yeah,
the test would have been on free to air.
I don't know. If it is, it's on.
Look on that.
It's on.
Surely the test had to be on free to air,
which would be Gem,
right?
Which you get it's Gem. I think's got all the other lifestyle shit on it. So.
Yeah. I literally game 1 I didn't even realise, and then game 2.
Yeah, when they lost.
To
France,
exactly.
first time in 31 years on home soil.
Yeah, that's when I heard about it.
That's when everyone heard about it because everyone was like. When the fuck did we play France?
Yeah.
Did you get ice cream?
Was I sleeping? Great movie. Shout out to The Ringer.
Definitely.
Any younger viewers hasn't seen that, Johnny Knoxville, that is an elite movie.
Yeah.
Could not make that
Could not make that movie.
Could not make that these days. So put it that way.
You never go.
All right, what about game 3? So series is 1 apiece. Marika Korobidi. Bring that up. Bring up the shot that Marika Korobidi got sent for in the 5th minute. This is an almighty joke.
Yeah, is this a penalty in rugby league or not even that?
It's a penalty. Yeah. It's a penalty. In the big dick Volandis fucking, shoving his dick down James Hooper's throat or wherever we got to with that chat. In that era of rugby league. On Magic Round. Let's go full Magic Round.
Round 12.
This was a penalty.
Yeah.
This was a penalty. This is the softest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was 5 minutes in. It's 5 minutes in. So it was a mammoth effort from the Wallabies to win this with 14 men. And it's a mammoth effort for any casual fans to even be fucking interested in this sport after this. Like, seriously, between the TV deal going to shit with no Foxtel and barely any free to air, and then to send a bloke for this, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour or maybe don't, especially if you like rugby union.
It's off the restart, so...
The bloke...
Is this soccer, bro?
That really looked like some soccer acting, doesn't it? So we should...
He's just like, got a penalty? Oh, I'm all good. He looks like that Italian bloke that fell down in
Is there any blood pouring out of his head?
Oh, he hits him on the chin, he does.
It's a penalty.
But yeah, I've seen one. I've definitely seen one.
A red card?
Yeah. From that angle, it's all right. But the other angle...
From that angle, I don't even know if it's a fucking penalty.
No. But from the other angle, you can see the shoulder does hit the chin. But
mate, Whoever the French number 8 is, and again, we don't know anything about rugby union. I couldn't tell you who the Australian number 8 is. Mate, he needs a fucking Oscar. Shout out to Marika Korobidi, ex-leaguey.
Yep.
Ex-leaguey. Anyways, so gargantuan effort from the Wallabies to get a win with 14 men. After that happens, fucking 4 minutes 27 in. Yeah.
It's a bit of a slow reaction.
That's, mate.
And
I don't remember the last time, unless you get knocked out, the last time you get hit in the face and then your legs give
Mate,
out from underneath you.
To quote the movie that we were just speaking about before, The Ringer, I've seen better acting in pornos. All right.
That's terrible.
Quade Cooper denied citizenship. What the hell? He's got to be fucking Dinky Die. Mate, Matthias Korman's a fucking... Matthias Korman from Dinky Die from Fogger. He fucking speaks like this. He's an Australian citizen. What? Quade Cooper's not...
I have no idea whether he filled the form out or he didn't do his test right, but yes, he got
He's
denied.
hanging out with Mulatalo filling out forms.
Maybe. Well, Militalo, well, he can apply for citizenship the same as Quade Cooper.
Right.
Whether he'd get it or not, another question.
Right.
But yeah, Quade got denied his citizenship after already playing 70 games for the Wallabies.
I
think he's eligible.
I feel like if you... What's our under or overs on games for the Wallabies to be a citizen? I'm going to go 9.5. If you play double digits, if you hit double digits tests, matches for Australia, you should be a fucking citizen.
Yeah, you're one of ours.
The first few is a vetting. It's a vetting but if you played 70 tests...
Can you imagine like the Australian captain of Test cricket not being an Australian citizen and then getting denied?
70 games. Which of our Australian Test cricketers have played 70 at the moment? Warner and Smith. Nathan Lyon.
Yeah.
The rest, you're all not fucking citizens. Fuck off. Jeez.
I think it's been hard done by. So.
Very stiff. Oh,
Yeah.
Quade. All right.
Unlucky.
That'll
it's
wrap
here.
up. That's it.
he failed to provide evidence that he met certain criteria requirements, including proof that he had participated in activities of benefit to Australia. So even the government doesn't reckon Australian rugby union.
It doesn't better. You didn't beat fucking New Zealand. Fuck off.
That's terrible.
Poor Quade. He's been dudded there.
Big time.
All right. Let's wrap up that great segment.
Rugby union going to rugby union at this point.
Sure will.
Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah.
I'd like to chat more about it.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, they need TV. It comes down to TV and advertising and
Unfortunately,
marketing. Yeah.
Big time.
Maybe they could upgrade the marketing pigeon to have 100 pigeons and send them all out simultaneously.
Do a letter drop.
Let's look at the AFL. So what we actually are doing 2 episodes. I think we've already spoken about it this week. So we will do our regular Thursday night preview. So we'll just cover some AFL news for now, and we'll review or talk about the games in our AFL preview Thursday night, if that makes sense.
Yep.
What happened with Sydney and GWS here, Sean?
Well, we just finished talking about rugby union and how it's dying and fucking up its own sport. Well, it's now fucking up another sport, and that in the AFL, because the game last week against France was in Sydney, and I think was it 5 or
Melbourne was the second.
Oh, second. Okay, so it was Melbourne.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. it was
Melbourne game 2, game 3 was in Suncorp. Was at Suncorp?
Suncorp, yes.
And game 1, I don't fucking know because the carrier pigeon didn't get to my house.
Yeah. So it was in Melbourne, and Melbourne's now got a couple of cases, and this game ended up being a hotspot
Right.
for COVID in Melbourne.
Yep.
So the Sydney and GWS players, not sure why they were down there, to be honest.
Because they were in a bubble.
They're in the bubble.
Yeah,
in the bubble.
they
So,
were in
yeah,
the
that's right.
Melbourne bubble.
Everyone was in Victoria,
Correct.
to play AFL. So they were like, hey, I think they got it cleared. So they went to
I think it was a midweek game.
Yeah, Tuesday night. So they went and watched that. I think from memory, it was about 7 players across the 2 clubs.
Yep.
The big name, Toby Green, was one of them.
Yeah, Matt De Boer.
So then, okay, because of now being exposure site and a hotspot, Queensland government says no way, and AFL was now all moving up to Queensland. So all the football is going to be in Queensland going forward. So they're now talking about, well, they're going to have to quarantine because they're at a hotspot, and that's on their list. So that's 14 days.
Yep.
Which means if they have to stick with 14 days from today or yesterday when they made the announcement, they'll be back round 21.
And they already missed last week.
Yes.
Or over the weekend, I should say.
Yeah. So if they backdate it to when they went into Queensland in the bubble, it's only
why would it be
9 days.
But what shouldn't it be from when they're at that game, which was last Tuesday?
Yes, possibly. So yeah, it's
That kind of makes sense.
yeah. So it could anywhere from round 19, which is they could miss round 19.
Yeah,
but
and
they could be back.
You'd think they'd be back for round 20, but possibly they could miss up to 21.
Yeah.
Who knows? Mate. If you want to try and understand these, we talk about it. We talk about rocket science. We talk about neurosurgery. We talk about trying to understand what the fuck the government does with these COVID rules and the AFL and the NRL, because it's all over the shop.
Yeah. For any of our international listeners, just think of all the states in your country. All our premier football leagues have been playing it in one state.
Yeah. I'll moved it all.
Every single team. They've all moved them all and put them all in one area to play sports. So
Bulldogs in quarantine? What happened there?
So one of their players, I can't remember his name. Would have to look it up. He's in quarantine currently. He was actually at another exposure site, which I think was a cafe. Mm-hmm. You know, football players love their cafes. So he's been
Benny, yeah, baby.
Yeah, he's been forced into quarantine as well. Monks, do you have a name for me?
You're making him work hard there.
Very quickly.
Yeah, it's annoying, man.
Dunkley.
Oh, well. Hang on. He hasn't even been playing.
Wait.
Yeah, 19th of July. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's out with a shoulder, but I imagine he's seen the other boys. So
Or he's in their bubble essentially in case when he does get healthy, he's in around the side. So yeah, he's.
If only there was a mad Western Bulldogs fan here that would be all across the news that could run us through it.
Well, the interesting thing, which we'll get to in the preview, but you know, Melbourne D's versus Western Bulldogs playing for the top spot the second time, and it'll be the second time they haven't played that game without fans. According to Macca, that doesn't mean it's legitimate. So
what happens when the Western Bulldogs win this game?
Doesn't count.
Some sad news on a more serious note, and from a Carlton tragic. Sergio Silvani passed last week. He's an absolute Carlton legend. The patriarch of the Silvani dynasty. Aged 83, 2 times premiership player, 239 games for Carlton. His son, Steve Silvani, son of Serge, one of the biggest names in Carlton football history. And now the young bloke, Jack Silvani, finding his feet as a regular in the 22, kicked a goal on the weekend, dedicated to his nono. Look, as an Italian, I've got Italian ancestry.
Yep.
And I'm a Carlton fan. The Silvani family is they mean a lot. They mean a lot, and they mean a lot to the club. So. He was an older man. Very sad that he's gone, but as we like to do on the Esky, when legends do pass, is just remember them for who they were. Two times premiership, one I think 68 and 70. I think off the top of my head, and then his son Stephen went on to captain them for hundreds of games. So lost a legend there.
Yep. 3 generations or 4?
Three. Yeah. So his old man was the first off the boat. And they lived, I think, just around the corner from Lygon Street, the centre of the Italian community down there in Melbourne, and Carlton Football Club sort of synonymous with the Italian community there. So Vale Sergio Silvani, and hoping Jack can really launch his career. He's been sort of marred by injuries and sort of in and out of the side so far. So hopefully the grandson Jack can keep up his good form and always find a spot in the 22.
Definitely.
Let's move over to the NBA.
Yeah, let's get in the NBA, and the On The Esky curse continues.
The curse. What was the name of our last NBA video?
The Suns win in 4? ? Yeah, something like that.
There was a question mark.
They haven't won a game since then.
Lucky there was a question mark. A handy question mark there.
They haven't won since then. So it's now 3-2 to the Bucks, and they're 1 win away. Next game's tomorrow.
Wednesday our time, so Tuesday night over there. So let's look back. Game 3 in Pfizer Forum there. You know how I was trying to think of the name of the area outside the stadium? Didn't quite get it online on our last ep. Deer District.
Deer District.
Not
Yes.
Deer Valley or Deer Thing or whatever I was saying. Bucks, 120 to 120 point winners. The biggest blowout of this final series so far. Giannis was doing Giannis things. He had 41 and 13 boards. Drew Holiday, he was under pressure. His first 2 games in those losses to Phoenix over there in the Valley. Shot pretty poorly. Had 22 points and 5 of 10 from 3-point land. Booker was off that night. And DeAndre Ayton, a rare game where he didn't have a double-double. I think he had 9 boards, so it was pretty close to anyway. And then game 4, the Bucks go Desmond Tutu, 109 to 103. Booker goes mad in this game, scores 42, 17 of 28 from the field, and it wasn't enough. CP3, did you think he was a little quiet in these first 2 losses?
It could have been. I think we were rating how elite and how excellent their, say, team basketball and their ball movement was. I wonder if they just got away from that a little bit, and there might be because CB3 has been a bit quiet in those games.
I think in game,
but that could also be because of the Bucks, and they're actually defending that better. They've had 2 games in those losses, kind of okay, this is how they're playing, this is their strategy, the game plan. They've come back out and addressed those holes in their game and had a better game plan going into the last 2, because it definitely looked like that in game 3 because they smoked them. They were way, and at home it probably helped as well, playing those 2 games home.
Sure.
But then going to the Valley as well.
Yeah, well, going to the Valley. So that game was yesterday, our time, Saturday night over there. This one went right down to the wire. It was probably the game of the series, of the finals so far. The Bucks get the win by 4 points. I was watching this on the beach up there after a week on the cocktails. On the cocktails, Milton Mangoes. For any American listeners, that's an Australian beer manufactured up in Queensland, the suburb of Milton, 4X. A little food for thought there. But anyways, I essentially was drinking on a beach for a week, and I thought this was game 6 up until about the 3rd quarter. I lost track. I lost track of that absolute holiday brain. I thought, oh, geez, the Bucks are going to win the series here. And then shout out to Macca, let us know in the groupie. Then cool,
yeah. It's only game 5, bro.
Cool your Jets, bro. It's game 5. It was a back and forth game. The Suns dominated the first quarter. I think they put up 37 in the first, and then the Bucks did the same in the second quarter. And it went right down to the wire. And it was that man, Drew Holiday. That's a joke, by the way. I have to find that's not my joke. It's a credit to some Danny guy. He takes that for Charles Barkley. That's him doing Drew Hollandaise.
Makes so much more sense.
Yeah, he takes any. What's he? I really need to find out this guy's name because I'm still at his jokes. and he's going, Giannis, up at the tempo. Anyway. He had that massive steal on Booker when Booker could have potentially taken the game-winning shot at the death there. Do you reckon it was a foul that looked like there's a bit of wrist involved? There was a big tug about. Yeah.
Definitely grabbed at the ball.
They may have given him a little bit of advantage just because of how buried Booker was in, they had 3, there was 3 of them around him.
Yeah.
So maybe not a great view on it. And Holiday kind of comes around the back and steals away while Booker's not looking. Yeah, maybe he gets 90% ball and that's why he gets away with it.
Yeah, it was a lot of ball.
So, maybe that's the reason. And
I think Suns fans probably have a small right to be upset about the no call, but I was happy with it.
Yeah.
Massive play.
Yeah.
It literally changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I think there's been 2 iconic moments. Like in this game, of course, it was Giannis slamming it down after that moment and staring down the camera. And it's just like, hey, you stole me money kind of look. It was like, I'm coming for you. And then also the block in game 4 leading up to it when one of the, you can see that's kind of maybe lifted them. That's given them the momentum. They've got behind that kind of storyline now with Giannis coming back from the knee. The knee's probably feeling lots better.
Yep.
Take a game in Phoenix. It's completely flipped.
It sure has.
So it would not surprise me if it flips again.
But they've got to go to Milwaukee. I think getting the away win was massive because the first 4 games, home court advantage, home team won.
Yep.
Yeah, getting that win in the Valley, it's going to be really difficult now for Phoenix to go up there to Milwaukee and with all the Milwaukee fans. I think they had 25,000. I was saying in that Deer district. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 50,000.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah. Come Tuesday night. Oh, that alley-oop. Oh, yeah. And I tell you what, when he does a staunch and when he does the flex, he's got some of the biggest pipes getting around in the NBA these days, and that's pretty elite company as it is. So if we have to pick for Wednesday, boys, who we got?
I still want to back the Suns because I like their 3 more, but you can't hate on either of these teams, really.
No,
like,
they're no villains.
Giannis is like, if Giannis wins the comp, you'd be so happy for him winning after, of course, winning a couple MVPs to get to this point.
Couple MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year. All he needs is that ring to kick him off.
And you flip it on the other side, and it's like you'd want to see CP3 do it before he retires. And, you know, Booker's been an excellent bookend to him to finish off that as well. So, you know, either way, you're like happy. I backed the Suns really early on. I'm going to back him in here to the end. Maybe game 6. CP3 comes alive, really sets Booker up, and they can sneak that win.
Well, he was good in that game 5. I think he had like 13 dimes or something, but it just wasn't enough. What do we got there? Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'll back myself. I think it was 7. No, 7.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it does, just to like take it to another level.
Yeah,
like he'll get everything he's got to hopefully kind of put them over the edge. You know, get the boys going, and that maybe will be enough to sneak that game, and then we go into game 7. But
it's kind of like you want the Suns to win game 6 and then just call it, and then they can both get the rings because it's hard to hate on either of these teams. Like as a neutral, it really is. Let me just go back here because I want to get that right. He had 11 assists. So it's pretty good, really.
How many points did he score?
You got double digits. 21.
Yeah,
21.
It's not bad.
21 points and 11 dimes. Like, you can't do too much more. I'll tell you who's been really interesting. Pat Connaughton coming off the bench. He is close to automatic from 3-point land. He had 4 of 6 for the Bucks in game 5. That helps so much when your bench players are going good. Yeah. Brook Lopez has really stepped up, and we spoke about Drew.
Well, it helped them cut that. Yeah, it helped them cut that lead essentially because the Suns got out very, very quickly and very in front. They were, I think it was a 37.
I think it was
14 at halftime at quarter time.
It was 37-21.
21.
So 16-point lead.
Yeah, so like the significant lead, and you know, to get a bench player to come in early in that second quarter and then get say 2 of those back.
Yep.
Hey, that helped cut that lead very, very quickly.
Yeah, and it helped contribute to the Bucks scoring 43 in the second quarter there. So massive game 6 upcoming. I'm going to back the Bucks here. I think they've had a complete momentum shift.
They've got all the momentum. Something big needs to happen.
They're going home. The town will be buzzing. I think Giannis does Giannis things, and I think finally we're seeing a little bit of consistency out of Middleton and Drew Holiday.
Yep.
I think that Milwaukee will be winning its second ever NBA championship, the first in 50 years. I think it is 1971.
Let's just say Aaron Rodgers is keen for it as being a part owner of the Bucks. So
maybe I should just jump on. Like I'm a Packers fan and I'm a bit neutral in the NBA. Maybe with a 3-2 lead going into the last game of the finals, I'll become a Bucks fan. Marks, who you got? I want to see the game. I'd love to see game 7.
I'd love. Same. I think last week we were talking about it's probably going to be a 4-2 series to the Suns. Everything's shaping up that it's going to be 4-2 series to Milwaukee. I don't know. I'm just happy for a good series. Seems like all the tipping I've been doing lately on the basketballs has just gone to shit. So
our curses haven't helped either. So
I can attest to that. I had a 10-leg multi on yesterday, and I lost by 1 leg, of course. And it was Brook Lopez to score 10 points.
Got 9.
Correct. And here's the best one for you. His under overs for the game at like $1.88 or whatever that was 8.5. So I would have won if I took that. I took to score 10, which was paying less. Fucking heartbreaker. That's probably like $120, like whatever. But that is the life of a punter
That's a
to a T.
That was classic Peps on the beach. This is like doing the math. Like, this is a good one.
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching game 6. Idiot. Anyways. Ben Simmons, what's going on? There's obviously a lot of rumours that he will be going somewhere.
Exactly, more reports that the 76ers have officially started to look into potentially moving him on. Mm-hmm. Essentially, that was a story that came out, and it's just like, doesn't look like they're keen to keep him Brown there, and he's essentially being scapegoated for their loss. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how they're going to replace like his defensive effort and his paint work when they get rid of him.
Maybe they just get someone that can shoot well and cover it on the offensive side of things.
Exactly, like a Jimmy Buckets they had the year before. Mm-hmm. Like maybe that's what they go, and they essentially one horse race. They back themselves on the process. On Joe Embiid is their future.
Trust the process.
Yeah, exactly, and.
They've been trusted for so long, man. Trusted for so long. The poor people of Philadelphia.
Yeah. So Ben Simmons will go somewhere else and probably for a mountain of different things. A lot of clubs want him, of course, because he's definitely elite of what he does. He just doesn't do what most people want him to do.
Well, interesting that you bring up that article there, Monks, that Dame Lillard is expected to be requesting a trade from the Blazers.
Yeah. His back must be so sore after carrying it for so long. Again, like it gets like kind of that point where take Lillard, for example, in his career, it's like no rings. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're that good of a basketball player. You're in that upper echelon. Everyone's talking about you. Do you then go and try and create that super team, or that competes with the other ones? Interestingly enough, I'd say probably the two and the two in this aren't really. Rosters they've been kind of built over time versus a super team like Holiday. They did spend big money on getting him in there to help out with Giannis, but they weren't kind of they've drafted well and then they've added a couple pieces versus let's trade Lillard and put some other pieces together and have like another super team like the Nets are. That's just a comparison. But when you're in that point in your career, it was like, hey, let's talk to someone else. I'm just going to use Ben Simmons, probably a bad example, but Ben Simmons was like, hey, you and I, let's go join this club. We'll go both get traded there, and then we'll make a run at the playoffs. Because that legacy, they always, it's all about getting that ring. It's all about trying to win that final. So
I've been hearing the Knicks been thrown around a little bit.
Yeah, well,
we saw what Julius Randle was doing. Imagine they
add a Dame to them,
add a Dame or add a Ben Simmons there. Or both.
Or both. Like
huge market, long-suffering fans.
That's actually not a bad pairing when you think about it. You had Dame in the shooter, and then you got a defensive weapon and Ben Simmons.
Yeah, good luck there.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Obviously, it's all rumours, and then something will happen, and you go, oh, that was a bit left field, and no one saw it coming.
Well, the NBA draft is next week.
Thursday week.
Yep. So maybe some of this stuff will heat up when they try to reset rosters and part of the draft picks.
Great point there, Sean.
So maybe we'll get some answers to this, but also, these big names, those deals take a little bit longer to put together. Maybe it'll happen after that point.
Sure, yeah.
Once teams kind of set their rosters with, say, the younger guys coming in.
Yeah. So that's a great point. I think after the draft, then we maybe start seeing some of the trade bedlam. Yep.
But interesting time ahead in the NBA. Let's say we won't have a winner by next episode.
Well,
let's hope we'll go on to 7 games.
We may or we may not by the next episode. Either way, we'll be talking about it.
Yes.
That'll move us into the On The Esky final round. Ding, ding. Again, Sandra Sully with the late news. That's all my fault for going on a honeymoon. But UFC 264 was a week ago.
Yep.
The big,
huge card.
Big main event was Poirier and McGregor. We'll get to that in a second. You boys sent this to me pretty quick. The Jennifer Mayer giving Jessica Eye a third eye on the undercard. Nasty cut. A lot of memes. Thoughts?
Oh, just a bad. Like, it's a terrible cut, and where it was, added to the funniness of it. Add to the fact that it's Jessica eye.
Getting a third eye.
Yeah, it's just the planets aligned for the jokes, for the memes. And yeah, terrible cut. She ended up winning this fight by decision.
Jennifer Mayer did.
Yeah. I think it went the distance. Like an absolute war. She had blood all over her face.
Yeah. Can't question her toughness.
No, not at all. But yeah,
But the memes are funny.
The memes are funny. That was probably the biggest thing that came out of this fight was the memes.
Oh yeah. She should close her eyes. She'd look like Lila off Futurama. I saw that one getting around. Yeah, nasty gash. But something. And look, something like that as well sucks. But you're on the undercard, and we're talking about it.
Exactly. That's
So.
Yeah, it's not a great way to get your name out there, but
No.
it does help get your name out there. And Jessica Ai, who was trying to kind of rebuild her title chances at that point, in her rankings, tough loss for her.
Indeed. Someone that always gets a lot of hype and media attention is Sugar Sean O'Malley. He beat Chris Martino via third round TKO.
Yeah, but talk about someone that gets their name out publicity, like Chris in this one, that he got hit with the most significant strikes in a, bantamweight fight of all time.
Right.
Like his strategy was essentially Homer Simpson get punched in the face.
Against Frederick Tatum.
Yeah. And Sean O'Malley, he was super accurate. He had like 85% strike accuracy or some shit like that. Like it was bananas. But he ate every shot and just kept coming.
Yep.
So crazy in that regards. They stopped the fight with Herb Dean fucks it up and stops the fight with 20 seconds to go. Chris, I think, really earned the fact that it go the distance.
You thought Herb could have let it go the last 20 seconds?
Well, the first 200 punches hadn't knocked him out. I don't think the next
last 20
are probably going to do too much more damage. Like his face was messed up, he's bleeding that like that.
Yeah.
But he was never out. Like he was always coherent there. He was getting pieced the fuck up and getting wailed on. But he the previous 14 minutes and 30 seconds of that fight. You could have stopped at any of those points for the exact same thing.
Yeah, right.
But he just kept going, and just Herb fucked it. But he's trying to save the fighter. Oh, save the fighter. But
it's coming out.
Yeah, save the fighter. But I think that was a terrible one from Herb in this regards for that one.
So he took 177 shots to the head.
177.
Significant strikes.
So
177 shots to the head. That's Mia Khalifa numbers. She's probably under that. Yeah.
Shout out Cher if she understands what that reference is.
She won't be listening and she won't understand. Now, back to Sean O'Malley. So he's 14-1. He's only lost. It is a real loss. He doesn't count it as a loss, but it is a loss to Marlon Vera, who's ranked 13th. The thing about him is he hasn't fought a ranked fighter yet. Do they have to give him one after this?
He's
such a big name.
Exactly. That may be the problem as well. Like those top 15 guys are avoiding him too. So, but the UFC's built on stars. Yep. He's got Sean O'Malley has a pretty big following, and its following's growing. He does so much outside self promotion. He podcasts up the wazoo. So he's definitely out there and about. He's all over the place. He's bantamweight's kind of trying to get stuck in and hey, we'll fight you in that. But they made this one. Slightly odd kind of decision, but in the end it ended up being an excellent decision. But he was, there's levels to shit, and Sean was such a far level above Chris in this one. But does he need a top 15? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so he's still unranked at the moment.
Yeah, that's
which is bananas.
Yeah. But as well, who does he get? Kyler Phillips, Cody Stammen. Has he fought any of those blokes? Have you got Sean O'Malley up there on Wiki?
Yeah. No, so he hasn't fought anyone.
So I think I actually saw it floating around that Dominic Cruz, who's at 10.
Who's at 9?
9?
Yeah.
Might be an interesting one, just because of the interesting styles that they both fight with. Very much stand-up fighters.
That'd be him getting fast-tracked if he gets up that high.
Also, the reason, for those guys for Dominic Cruz, you're still going to get on the pay-per-view because you'll either be the third or fourth fight in that pay-per-view because Sean's such a big name there. Dominic Cruz also being a huge name for those guys that really big following spot for a long time, especially the hardcores.
Yep.
And he's on commentary, so a lot of people know of Dominic Cruz. That could be one that, gets him into not only the top 15, but top 10.
So Cruz is 36 years of age now. He had a huge win streak up until Uriah Faber back in UFC 199, then lost to some really good fighters in Cody Garbrandt and Henry Cejudo. So, and his most recent one is a win against Casey Kenny.
So where was Casey Kenny ranked back there? Was he in the...
No. He's
Not
there, is he?
ranked.
No, not ranked.
Well, not at the moment, at least. Yeah.
So that'd be an interesting fight.
That was the one I think kind of was floating around out there. This could be an interesting one.
One legend of the division versus a huge name up and comer.
You hate Dominic Cruz to become a gatekeeper, but if you're 9th or 10th and you got a big name like Dominic Cruz does, you're kind of in that. But for Dominic Cruz, like you go out there and you beat Sean O'Malley, that puts you straight back in the conversation for a possible, 1 or 2 fights away from a title run.
Yeah.
It really depends on what Dominic wants to do.
The top end of the bantamweight division is stacked, man.
Well, it's held up a bit with Sterling and Jan needing to have the run their fight back from the disqualification.
Yep.
Which Jan was handily winning that fight.
He was, yeah.
But then
you got Corey Sandhagen up there. Jose Aldo still good.
So Sandhagen is booked to fight TJ Dillashaw and Dillashaw's return fight. So as long as Dillashaw doesn't piss hot.
Has he had 2 years out, Dillashaw?
Yep.
For EPO?
Yeah.
That went quick. Life goes quick.
It does, yeah.
It's like
for a big time. For him, probably not so much.
Yeah, for him.
I was going to say, what's the moral of the story here?
I don't know. The moral is when you think about everything that's happened in that time, that this pandemic wasn't a thing. You think that's a fucking long time.
Yeah.
But then you think, TJ Dillashaw. Yeah, 2 years goes like that. All right, let's move forward. For us Aussies, a huge moment with Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa knocking out Greg Hardy in the first round. We spoke about it. It's going to end via knockout. Which way will it go? It's probably going to end by first round knockout. Got that right. Backed in Bam Bam. He got him.
Greg Hardy hits him early, wobbles him a bit. Like
he ate a few.
Yeah, like the heavyweight division, like the heavyweights, they don't fuck around. You get hit by ex-Pro Bowl defensive ends, like that shit's gonna hurt you.
Physical specimen.
Yeah, like they're massive human beings. So Ty gets hit, wobbled legs. Greg Hardy like rushes in trying to finish the fight. Ty instinctively throwing his own bombs back, and Greg Hardy eats one straight on the chops. So
they were going hammer and tong, these two, weren't they?
Yeah. For like the minute length of this fight, like they definitely were swinging them. Tua wins this, does 3 shoeys.
Yeah, 3. Like within like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 3 shoeys on the way out. One with hot sauce.
Yeah.
Which I think ended up being Dustin Poirier's hot sauce, which I think was why it was there.
Okay,
But wasn't a huge fan of that. But yeah, there's no COVID, bro. Just you can't get COVID doing chewies.
That's right. No, with the hot sauce either. Kills the COVID.
Probably could get other stuff.
Yeah. I follow him on Instagram. I imagine you boys do too. He had a party the next day. He was going live. All the boys there at the Encore Beach Club having a good time. Shout out to him. And we're speaking about Sean O'Malley not being ranked. When's this bloke going to get one?
Yeah, great question. I think difference, from Tua to Sean O'Malley. Tua's had a couple of fights against top 15 dudes, and I think he's lost all of them. Junior Dos Santos, probably the biggest one.
Dos Santos, that's Sergey Spivak. He's ranked as well, and Ivanov. He's in the rankings, isn't he? Yeah, Ivanov's 11. Spivak is 14, and Junior Dos Santos has dropped out, but was
retired. I think
retired was ranked,
but he was top 10 at that point. So,
3 fight win streak now though.
Yeah, after a 3 fight lose streak, so
has a whole nation behind him.
True, but Robert Whittaker's probably our biggest name from UFC perspective. Actually, no. Well, you can put Volk in that.
Volk, sure.
Yeah, Volk is a champion,
sure. But when those blokes do 3 shoeys in the first 10 minutes, that's when the nation will really get behind.
True, exactly. Yeah.
No disrespect to Volk or Whittaker. Big fans of both of them.
So
he deserves something between 10 and 15, though.
Yeah,
he definitely
same thing in that conversation. He needs
Well,
not a gatekeeper, but he needs someone in that, say, 15 and 10 bracket.
What about
now
a guy like Walt Harris? He's 38 years of age. He's 13 and 10. He's ranked 12th. He's on the
little bit of a confidence booster.
descend, let's put it that way, of his career, and Bam Bam's on the ascend.
That might be a good
that makes
choice.
sense, I would have thought.
Yep. I can back that in. Marks, what have you added there for us?
Oh, just the so Arena El Dana.
Do it?
No,
I didn't realize this was going to be the harder name to pronounce.
Hence why I threw it a monkey.
Kunitskia.
Make sure you say the last name right.
Kunitskaya.
Kunitskaya. I was saying it before on my head.
I don't want to get banned.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Great insight there, mate.
So Irene
They fought
defeated
at a catch weight, didn't
catch
they?
weight. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Irene
she missed
didn't make weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
She looked huge, by the way.
Yep.
This is in the bantamweight division, so the smaller of Man and Nunez's belts. She's got the bigger one as well.
Yeah.
So 135.
So
this
being-
old Ronda belt.
Yeah. So being overweight, she well, not to discredit her fighting ability, she knocked Yana out first round.
Yeah. Big
Always
time.
contentious when you miss weight and then knock someone out, isn't it?
Big time boxer as well, and like really dominated this fight. As soon as it kind of got into her range and she got, was letting those hands go, she looked so much better than Yana. So I don't think she's at Nunez level, like kind of in there, but
Is anyone at Nunez level?
great point. Probably not. But I mean, as in Nunez's level to then have a fight with Nunez, she's probably 2 fights away from that point. But she does really look good.
What about a Holly Holm?
She just lost to Holly Holm this fight beforehand, so that's kind of what set her back.
Okay.
So yeah, like it'd be interesting. She's there and thereabouts, I think, is the problem. I think she's got great size and she's got great boxing ability. She just needs to, I don't know, put 1 or 2 things together, and then that'll be it for her, and she can kind of put it together. I think she
also
potentially
also Mexican, big. Like nation would get a nation behind her.
Big market.
Spoke about Brandon Moreno, a few weeks ago, becoming the first Mexican champ. Be massive for Mexico if they could get her there.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see anyone beating Nunez the way that she's going.
not
about
anytime
things
soon,
at the
but
moment.
potentially she has things you can build around. That's kind of what I'm at.
Yeah. So you mentioned that fight against Holly Holm,
Which went to decision.
last year, which she lost, and then so her last.
That was a 5-round decision too. So
Oh, there you go. The girls banging it out for 25 minutes. It'd be interesting to see who she gets next.
I reckon run that fight back.
Well, there's another girl there, Aspen Ladd or Jermaine de Randami. It's been one of those girls.
yeah. Well, Jermaine have wanted nothing to do with Amanda Nunes, with Cyborg, and she probably doesn't want anything to do with Nunes. So
Just sit there and be
be
number one.
be the gatekeeper. Yeah, maybe that Holly Holm makes sense to run it back. I'd have to go back and rewatch that one with her for the 5 rounds.
Well, it didn't even come to mind for mine.
Exactly. So
There you go. All right, moving into the second biggest fight of the evening. Gilbert Burns defeated Stephen Wonderboy Thompson by decision. I was on a plane going to my honeymoon by this stage. You blokes watched it.
Yep.
What can you tell me about it?
let's to summarize. Burns dominated. He's wrestling just so much more than for what Wonderboy could do. I think he got 6 or so takedowns in this. Each round he got the takedown he needed to. He didn't land huge on Wonderboy, but I don't think Wonderboy on the inverse as well. Like it didn't really. I can't remember any
the highlights that I saw. It looked like Wonderboy got him with a few of those roundhouse kicks.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any moment though where either one of them was kind of in trouble on the feet.
Right.
Like it was definitely a gritty kind of tough fought out 3-round decision. Burns, I think, dominated the first 2. Wonderboy really needed to push hard in the third. But by that point, Burns did enough and then also, secured another takedown. You get the time, waste out the clock. So I think, Burns did more than enough, and Stephen Thompson kind of another guy getting up there in age.
We spoke about that in our preview of UFC 264. Even though Gilbert Burns was the odds-on underdog here. We all backed him, or did you go Wonder Boy? I know me and you. I
definitely backed
I might
Burns.
have gone Wonder Boy, yeah.
Yeah, I think me and you backed him because we go, hang on a minute. The bloke's higher ranked. He's younger. His ground game is immaculate.
Well, he's won 5. No, that's a incorrect number. But I know for a fact.
Well, it's a number. I don't know what you're about to say. If it was incorrect.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champions. Ships.
Yeah.
I think he definitely won the last one, and he might have won. I thought I was going to say the last 5, and I was like, I don't think it's the last 5. He's won 3, 4.
So he's a BJJ master.
He had a bloody BJJ tournament like a month out from this fight as well, and won that.
He loves taking fights, man. So since losing to Dan Hooker back in 2018, he's at the UFC level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights in 3 years.
Yeah,
so
keeping competitive.
Yeah, so taking nearly 3 a year, and is fighting BJJ at the same time.
Yeah, can you get his title? Just scroll up. Sorry, his actual awards.
Yep. So there you go. So he's been a Brazilian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And has also been a bronze medalist at the ADCC World Championship, which is
I thought you might have won it more recently than that. I could be wrong.
Anyway, elite BJJ.
Definitely.
BJJ player.
Yes, yeah.
Did you know they call them players? And same with judo, players. Yeah, yep. I only learned that a few months ago, I think. Mm-hmm. It sounds weird.
Yeah, well, it's
play judo or to play BJJ.
Well, I think
it's a chess game.
Well, it's more
it is very much like a chess game
because it is grappling. It's less of a fight. So like Mikey says, it is more of about like technique and movement and where you place your body. The chess game. So you're playing that game versus trying to knock someone's block off and win a fight.
Yeah.
So it is slightly different. But yeah, Burns never uses a lot of that, honestly, which is quite interesting.
He just wrestles.
His wrestling's pretty good. Or he tries to fight on the hands. Like that him and Usman fight was. Basically, they kind of equaled each other out in the wrestling / BJJ game. So it was just a pure stand-up fight, which was excellent for the viewer. But Usman in the end with that jab got over Burns. But Burns, I think, kind of solidified himself as a 1 in that division. Masvidal, I don't think is kind of there. The Diaz brothers floating around might make it interesting. But
surely they're past it.
Names. That's the reason.
Yeah.
So I guess the big one.
Let's do the big one. So the final fight, Dustin Poirier takes on Conor McGregor, defeats Conor McGregor, was ruled a first round TKO. I think McGregor wanted it as a doctor stoppage between the rounds because I think he did make the end of the round.
It was a stoppage, so it was TKO by doctors.
Doctor stoppage, So
which comes under the the loss via TKO.
Yes. So for those that aren't aware, McGregor, of course, broke his tib and fib.
If you've been living under a rock, shout out to Andrew Burns. I'm sure you're not listening. McGregor has lost again, and in a quite contentious way.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Like, it was his left leg, I believe, from memory.
Yep.
It was his supporting leg essentially. So put all his weight back on his leg, and both his lower shin bones have given out. And his ankle's gone the other way. Would have been beautiful viewing. Getting Macca's reaction to that because he hates injuries like that is. But it's been a couple of weeks. We've had Jimmy Crute and Chris Weidman recently having similar lower leg injuries.
Yep, lower legs. Jacare getting his arm broken. There's been. Yeah, the UFC fighters need to drink a bit more milk by the looks.
Well, so we'll get. There's a few points to cover here. Let's talk about the injury. So supposedly, McGregor came into the fight with injury. It was well known. It has been stated that both the UFC and because it was in Las Vegas, Nevada Athletic Commission all knew about it.
Right.
He's released photos of it, ice taped up, getting scans on it.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked, Monks and I kind of talked about it, like maybe there was microfractures there.
Yep.
Sounds like that was the case. There's a few instances. There was a check from a kick. McGregor hit Dustin on the knee, and you can see the
It
foot
was
kind of
very,
moves a
very
little bit.
early on, yeah.
That's, I feel like,
Dustin kind of points at that one,
Yeah,
and then just before this one, before he actually breaks it, he throws another kick and he hits Dustin on the elbow. Again, another hard bone you probably don't want to be kicking.
No.
So that combination probably of those, the microfire, the fractures going into it, maybe that's what it just finally gave out. Under his weight to break both your shin bones, probably very, very rare. But with all that action and all that stress through that joint, it's finally given way. And at a terrible time for Conor McGregor.
Yeah, on the biggest stage. It would be interesting, and I guess we'll never know as to, was it the lead up, was he hurt going in, or was it those two checks from Dustin that
It wouldn't surprise me knowing the game plan that McGregor came in with a heavy kick-oriented game plan. His first 6 strikes were kicks.
Yep.
So it wouldn't surprise me if during training he'd thrown, I'm going to throw out a number, just say 1,000.
Yeah. 1,000. I think that's fair enough. I think that's fair
Like,
enough.
it's thrown heaps of those kicks, and it probably, the stress on the joint, that's why we're talking or stress on the bones, the microfractures there. Like, once you start getting them, it's just like, what can you do with that? And McGregor is notorious for having, fighting with injuries. He took the Chad Mendes fight with a 80% partially torn bloody ACL, and then he did blow his ACL out against Max Holloway.
Yep.
In the second round, and then won both of those fights, of course. So he's not Aldo pulled out with the rib injury, and I think McGregor had busted up wrists himself at that point. So he's not a guy to pull out of fights. He's definitely he'll take niggles in there and do his best. Yeah. He's a warrior. So,
what did you think about the shit talking whilst you're lying down with a broken ankle?
Well,
any of us would be writhing in pain. So,
interesting enough, like Chris Weidman and bloody Anderson Silva, like the video of them afterwards, like they're tearing up, they're in so much pain, getting them on stretchers, getting them out there. McGregor's just like, fuck that, I'm cutting an interview with Joe Rogan.
Rogan lying down on
and
it.
I'm going.
That's one of the all-time interviews.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ham on Dustin Poirier, and I think he probably lost a few fans.
He'd lost me in the lead-up.
Yeah,
and I was talking about this with you boys. I was going, fuck, I used to love him, but it's just becoming too much. And I know they got to sell fights. I know that's what they're trying
I think
to
there was
do.
a line, and when he got stuck into Khabib's wife, that's kind of the point where he crossed it, and there's been no return. So essentially, and then
since then,
Dustin's
whole
wife.
stuff with Dustin's wife, I will murder you, when he's saying, I will kill you.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you in your sleep.
In your sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
your missus is a hoe. She's in my DMs.
Yeah, there's shit talking. And
I
then,
mean, even before that, there was stuff going on outside of the ring that was happening.
yeah,
Like,
definitely. The whole incident in Las Vegas with the bus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other thing is, like, people are like, hey, I'm losing fan. He's getting stuck into to Dustin's misses. But you got to remember, he threw a fucking dolly at a bus. He fought some
Punched
old
out an
blokes
old dude
in
at an
the
Irish
pub.
pub. Yeah.
Like, he's
I think
he's a classic kind of hoodlum.
Yeah, but
that's growing up with fuckloads of money.
Yeah, that's right. He's starting to lose some fans. Is it hurting him from a financial point of view?
Hell no.
He's the highest paid athlete in the world.
I think he made 20 mil for that fight. So.
Yeah.
He's fighting just because he wants to fight. He's not fighting for money. He's
doesn't
not
need
fighting
to.
for fans.
No.
It's just something that he loves. And props to him for doing something that he loves at a competitive level.
And he probably sold that as well. Like, maybe that was the most painful thing he's ever been through. But he was just like, this is the 4th fight. Like, I don't want to say excuse, but I've got a reason now for let's run this back with Dustin. Like,
well, this 4th fight has to happen. Like,
Yeah. There's so much now.
Happen.
For Dustin, it doesn't. Like, he can go on and
that's the thing. Like, Dustin's number 1
belt.
ranked. So
And
Oliveira's then waiting there for a fight, and it's got to be Dustin Oliveira. Gaethje, maybe, but he's just lost to Khabib. Maybe he needs a fight against, say, Chandler to kind of get him back into that space.
Here's one for you. Okay.
So if he wins that belt, like, Conor can't come back.
Well, what if Dana comes out to you and he says, you can have Oliveira after you go through Connor again because it's a license to print money.
Well, Dustin probably doesn't care at this point. He's just
It's
I'm getting paid fuckloads.
What's more important to Dustin?
Well, yeah,
but
what is
being
more important to
having
Dustin?
that belt, or going and make a fucking mint. Like if Connor's getting 20, like Dustin probably didn't get that, but he should be getting a lot of.
Well,
money.
I think Dustin's
and that's something that's wrong as well with the UFC is that the bloke that lost the fight is making a lot more money than the bloke that won.
Yeah, well, names is part of it, but I think for
Yeah.
Dustin, like he's building his name off it. Some of the like shit talk he got better of McGregor. The all time classic McGregor fast, no McGregor sleep is like one of the greatest quotes. You know, he should show up, rock up with t-shirts.
Yeah,
he can even add like McGregor break to the bottom of it. So
yeah, that's right. Hey, speaking,
What did you-
guys see the Conor McGregor doll that comes with its own? It comes with the ankle already broken. And Logan Paul, I think, was
Jake Paul
Jake, one of
made
them.
a necklace of the
That's-
McGregor's sleep, and then Dustin's going to auction that off. So, like,
So I think he
all
made
around
that.
the world talking about.
Yeah, I
it.
think he made that necklace like beforehand, like
Yeah.
ages before, and then he's obviously sent it across to Dustin, and Dustin's going to be auctioning that off for
Auctioning it
his
off.
charity for, the charity that Connor
rec-
didn't pay up.
Yeah, right.
recoup some of that $500,000 that he didn't end up paying.
that was the whole sliding into the DMs fiasco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Dustin say after the fight? Karma doesn't come back. It's like karma's a mirror or something like
Yeah,
that.
karma's a
Yeah.
mirror, and you'll get reflected in your actions essentially. So,
Right, yeah.
if you're gonna be a CU in next Tuesday, then it's gonna come back on you, and karma's a bitch, as I like to say.
For sure, for sure. Well, we talk about Connor possibly losing fans and making money. Dustin's making money and gaining fans, I would have to say.
Yeah, exactly. And if he can go out there and beat Oliveira and the title, he's got the title, which probably means the kind of fight never happens again.
Yep.
But then he could pick and choose. Like if he then beats Gagey, and it's like, well, Chandler hasn't done anything. I'm assuming Chandler's lost to Gagey. If I'm following my quick timeline, future
There's a
timeline.
lot going on in that head of yours. I'm struggling to keep up.
Yeah, but then he might go, hey, pick the fight. Kind of like Michael Bisping did with Dan Henderson when he was a middleweight champion. Just pick the fight I want, and that's what I want, Connor. Because one, I can add an extra title defense, get paid fuckloads, and I'm going to be pretty comfortable in this. So, it's an easier fight, but it also makes you shitloads of money, and again keeps your name out there.
Yeah.
Time will tell. So a bit of UFC news. Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. We had speculated about it last episode. It's official. They're going to do a 5-round non-title fight, which we're starting to see a little bit more now.
That's huge. That'd be excellent.
On UFC 266.
Some of the memes that come out of this, because it's been 17 years since these last two fought, I think, from memory.
17 years.
Like
2004.
There you go.
Jesus Christ.
So
To do anything in sport, anything where you're talking about a 17-year period is to talk about a cricketer having a 17-year career is unbelievable. The fact that these two are going at it after fighting in 2004, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Props. And going 5 rounds.
yeah. Yeah. And
Physical specimens.
I don't think Lawler's fought since Ben Askren. Like, so you probably find that out.
I feel like we were talking about this last
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, but he's had a few L's recently. Old Robbie Lawler.
And Nick Diaz, of course, a long layoff, trying to get kind of a big name fight to get back in there. Robbie Lawler's an excellent one to get him back in there.
Ruthless.
And then get on the card, which I think's got Valentino Shevchenko. Shevchenko.
There we go. We got
I started, so it's all right.
it. But it's like you've just completely pulled out. Like it was like
You did better than me a moment
I
ago.
fucked it and it's gone.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But I think Valentino's on this as well.
Yep.
But the main one, of course, is Ortega versus our boy Volk.
Yep.
Which will be after the Ultimate Fighter TV series they're
Yep.
currently doing.
Yep. So they're the coaches on that. at the moment.
That'll be the main. I think Valentino is probably. What is that? The title fight? There's a chick's title fight. I think in this. Can you confirm for me?
So
That's it, yeah.
Shevchenko is champion. She's fighting Lauren Murphy.
Yeah. Another bird she's going to kill.
They're the only ones that are announced so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not till September 25.
Which was really interesting because we just finished UFC 264. So between now and September, of this card, which I think is the end of September.
Yep. Yeah, it's about 2 months away.
Yeah, there's only one pay-per-view in between it. And they've kind of been...
265.
But they've kind of been... Well, usually UFC's been pumping out the pay-per-views. Trying to pump out...
Yeah.
I think there's like 5 fight nights between 264 and 265. And keep them rolling, of course, getting their ESPN money. But I thought it was kind of interesting that you'd get... For the next 3 months, you're getting one pay-per-view per month. And that's... Considering they were... a year or two ago, they were doing it 2 to 3 in a month. Like, it's a kind of a bit of a change-up.
Well, that makes sense as well. Dana's gone, holy fuck, we don't have anything going on here. That's why there's this fake interim heavyweight title fight at UFC 265 between Derek Lewis and Cyril Gane.
That's probably a problem.
Like they had to fill something. They had needed something.
It is probably a problem because all the heavyweights have already, well, not heavyweights, sorry, all the champions have kind of fought in the front half of this year already.
They need a break. Yeah.
So, for them, they're not going to probably come back until October, November to then have their second defense for this year. If they fight twice in a year, most of them don't. The title guys, the champions, probably don't fight 3 times in a year, unless you're John Jones trying to recreate your career. So, yeah, I can see why the UFC is kind of like, well, shit, we've got no big names left over that are the keen for fights. Getting a Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler fight, that's a huge get on that one.
They'll throwback. Yeah.
And Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw is next week.
Yep.
It's probably the next
an ESPN one.
Yeah, another ESPN, another one of those fight nights. That could definitely be a co-main on a pay-per-view, I reckon.
Thing.
So,
yeah,
it's interesting to see how the UFC is kind of managing that at the current states.
That'll wrap up our news in the UFC. Apologies, it is a week after it had occurred. This will be interesting as Sean jumps out for a toilet break. Me and Monk's gonna get stuck into the F1 over the weekend. So the British Grand Prix occurred at Silverstone. We already spoke about Lando Norris getting mugged at Wembley Stadium.
Pretty crazy.
This was the first sprint race, yeah?
First sprint race, yeah. So
how'd it go?
So the way that the format for the weekend happened, so on Friday I had the qualifying, which then led into the sprint race, the result of the sprint race would then determine the positions for the main race.
Right.
So sprint race was on the Saturday. I'll just bring up the results here.
And was this for points?
Yes. So it was points. So first place got 3 points. Second place got 2 points. Third place got 1 point.
Yep. They were 3, 2, 1.
Yep. And I guess the months leading up to the event, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is going to be non-event. It's just going to be procession. Like no one's going to be wanting to fight for points in this race because they want to save the cars for the main race." But yeah, in the end, it turned out to be pretty close race.
Race car driver's going to race.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Many overtakes?
A couple. So Alonso was probably the biggest get. I think he made up 4 positions. In the first lap, I think he made up 9 in total.
Yeah.
Like crazy number. Like he just got an excellent run in the inside.
He got a real good start. I think it was on the outside of the track.
Yeah, with
the
switching the corners,
line, and then and switching the corners, he made up a ton of
positions. So and then lost a few, got past the 2 McLarens, and McLarens had to then re-get him, so they could then start 5th and 6th from memory. So he was the biggest get, and then I think Leclerc as well. He was 6th, and then got up to 4th from memory, but. Yep. They were the 2 kind of main gets, and the inverse, Perez actually span, managed to not put it in the barriers. That was the biggest concern, was putting a car in, damaging a car the night before you're going to have a major race.
Yeah, right.
And have the mechanics spend all night trying to get it ready again. But
they did have to do some repairs, so he started from pit lane.
Luckily enough, it wasn't huge, like he'd put it into the wall or anything like that.
Right.
Just checking the floor, make sure all the arrows all good. But yeah, so he was probably 6th or 7th at the time and started last, essentially.
Yeah.
So he was the big, and that ended up being huge for Red Bull when we get into the actual race.
So success, the sprint race?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Killer for the Australian fans in with it also being England because it was at 1:30 in the fucking morning.
Yeah, it was.
So it did kill me on Saturday night. But I will say it's the first time I watched a little bit of the qualifying, but it was the first sprint race, so that's why I tuned in.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was up, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
I watch it. It's at 1:30. It was like, let's do it. But you're watching Formula 1 on a Saturday, so
Yeah.
And it's kind of the comparison was the T20. Everyone uses the T20 comparison as like, hey, it's that shorter race that we can get the younger millennial fans in it with the
cool,
shorter,
we're hip.
with the shorter pretentious fans.
That's right.
That was the exact quote. Almost was like, yeah, to get the millennials with the shorter attention spans into the sport.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, good luck. Have you seen TikTok? Fucking put an 8-second video up there of a chick shaking her ass.
Yes, that's probably what they need on the starting grids, and then more millennials will turn in.
Well, I mean, funny to talk about that. So after the race, they had this. It's not really weird, but they sort of brought back like the whole parade.
The parade and the
So
reefs. Yeah,
after the qualifying,
Max.
they had Max, Lewis, and Valtteri all get onto the back of a semi-trailer, and, like take a final lap.
yeah. Do a lap around the
Do a
course.
lap around the course,
Wave to the
like
fans.
wave at the fans and all that sort of stuff, and have interviews. And they gave him Verstappen a reef for winning the qualifying.
Yeah.
And it was like, just turning into a little bit more of that spectacle.
Interesting
Show.
enough, the last time they gave a reef to a race car driver was, we were just talking about it at the start of the potty, Alan Prost. So it's been almost 30 plus years since they've actually kind of done that. So a bit of history there. Interesting.
Symbolic more than anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but the event overall, I think the numbers was 345,000 people there, 140,000 of those for the actual race day. It was packed.
Yeah.
There was so many people there.
You
COVID,
can not
what's
care
COVID?
about
Yeah,
the,
no COVID in the UK.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
so the big one.
How'd it go?
We should probably talk about the opening race. The big news. Matt, do you want to get some video up? The Hamilton crash, causing crash. He definitely caused a crash. So Hamilton causes a crash. Max hits the wall very, very hard. Out. His car's trash. Like
Yeah.
it's absolute trash after this. Whole one side is completely torn apart. Max out of this race. We're talking half a lap in.
Right. Early drama.
Super early. Opening lap of the race. Max is out. So the question very much is who was right or wrong in this? And there's some really good analysis, some really good kind of insight, the laws and the rules. So they're the wheel to wheel. Hamilton needs to take Verstappen over. Verstappen over. Just considering his car runs so much better in clear air and how strong Max has been.
Right.
Hence our video saying, Max absolutely dominates. Can anyone catch him? You can if you take him out. So, Hamilton's all over him in this opening lap.
and I think
Side by side. Excellent action. They were very good at giving each other room leading up to this.
Yep. I think the sprint race sort of set the tone as well, because Max started from pole for the sprint race and then started from pole in the main race. So it was really that you need to get in front.
So the camera work on this is absolutely excellent as well. So boom, hits him here. The gravel trap does absolutely nothing.
Jeez, yeah, that didn't
Hits-
slow him down at all, did it?
Hits that wall doing anywhere from 150 to 200 Ks, I reckon. Because it was technically in a braking zone, but it would have been very, very fast.
I can't remember if it was on Verstappen's Instagram or a news article, but 51 Gs he hit that wall at.
What?
Yeah,
51 Gs.
yeah. And he walked away with a concussion.
Isn't 5 Gs meant to be big?
Oh, yes, big time.
They pull 5 Gs in some of the tight corners,
Yes.
tight, fast corners, but yeah,
Fucking hell.
it's
But that gravel trap, he's going so quick, he literally just skips across it. It doesn't even slow him down.
It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything.
He bounces over the top of it and he goes whack into that wall. Hits it. He was 100% winded. It's knocked all the air out of him.
All right, so explain it to me. I'm an F1 nuffy.
Boom! It buries it in the tire wall.
I've really am a very, very casual fan of motor racing. To me, untrained eye, it looks like Hamilton's giving him a little flick there.
Well, he's definitely very, very inside him, and he does pull out a little bit. So he does brake a little bit, but not enough. The kind of regulations is he he almost gets, if you watch it, he gets wing to wing. Like they very, very get to that point.
Okay.
So Max is maybe meant to give him room.
Not on that corner.
No, I wouldn't have thought so either. I think there was, what happened is both drivers expected the other driver to concede, or at least back out of it a little bit, or give more room than they did. The problem is they're both fighting for a world championship, and
it's
essentially
number one versus
whoever
number
wins,
two.
wins this corner is probably going to end up winning this race.
So I think from what I saw on the onboard for Lewis, so Max has the corner. He's in front. He has, I guess for lack of a better word, right away. He has the racing line. He does turn into Hamilton, trying to take the apex of the corner at his speed. Hamilton, which was also explained by, I guess, the
Various commentators and all the
so he
Jensen actually pointed it out as well.
Yes, he was commented as not having taken his apex of the turn.
Exactly,
He never tried to take the best line for himself. He just cruised around the corner, and you could kind of see from his onboard he didn't ever try to swerve out of Verstappen's way.
Right.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting as well, he started on dirty medium, so they'd already done some laps during qualifying on it, whereas I think Max had fresh tyres. Maybe it didn't look like a huge amount of understeering of that. Maybe he couldn't have made that corner, that apex as well, which means that's why he was so far over. I kind of thought about that a little bit too, and that's why he's hit him so hard in the contact. I'm not sure if you show it there from the onboard from Hamilton, but that's kind of will show you Peps at least what we're talking. Play from there somewhere, there. That, when we're talking about apex, we're essentially talking about the curb and the line.
Yep.
So when Hamilton comes up the side here, so look, you're looking at the corner on the right. He's meant to be hitting that line, and he's so far away from it. So,
but seriously, from watching it from that angle, it happens so quick.
So quick.
That's F1. It's like everything's crazy.
Can he swerve? Can Lewis swerve out of the way there?
Yeah. Or could he be more over the right?
Could he be more to the right? Yeah.
Essentially, I think it's like they should have slowed down a little bit and conceded the position to Max in this point. But, so following on from that, Leclerc did, as we saw in the highlights, Leclerc does make it through that position because Hamilton's kind of trying to recover after just whacking Max. They did red flag the race, so Leclerc was in first and Hamilton was second. The race pretty much hold station for not whole station, but there wasn't a huge amount of overtakes. There's a little bit, of course, in the middle field. There's heaps of stuff. Yeah. McLaren got into their position. They 4 and 5, and Ricciardo did an excellent job holding off Sainz for almost the entire second half of the race. But it was really the action was Hamilton just having enough pace and tyres after serving. You got a 10-second penalty out of this, which is the second lowest penalty you can get.
Okay. Yep.
So 5 seconds is the other one.
Yep.
Stop and go where you can't change your tyres. So you got 10 seconds. So you got to go in his pit window, sit for 10 seconds. Then they do work on the car and then he can go.
Right.
So it's the second lowest one. He comes out and then chases Leclerc down. That's essentially the race. He was chasing Leclerc down the whole time. He gets him with 2 laps to go, I think, ends up winning the British Grand Prix. Monks, what did you think penalty-wise in all that? Did you think that was fair? And I don't want to say considering Max ended up in hospital in this. He did have to go over and get checked, and they checked him all over. Luckily, fine. Probably can race at Hungary in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
It's Hungary, from memory.
Yeah, I think it is.
I mean, it's hard to say. You don't want to say... Yeah, it is hard to say because at face value, it very much looks like it's just a racing incident. Unfortunate set of circumstances. I think Hamilton was on the radio pretty much straight after saying he turned into me. So whether
Hamilton
that's intentional or not, what happened behind the scenes, he at least at face value says that he thought he was right away. Verstappen ran into him. So it's hard to say. 10 seconds is fair enough. You'd think at that level, the fact that they had to red card the race, do you do a stop and go? That puts him, because that stop and go has to happen
outside a pit stop.
Yeah, and also has to happen within 3 laps. So within those first 3 laps,
it's technically
field is
like
a lot more condensed.
It's a 30-second penalty, really.
Yeah, well, for the time it takes him to get through pit lane and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but versus
30
the
seconds,
10 he
40
got on
seconds.
top of, he's already pit stop. Like it's an additional 30 that he would have had to do on top of his pit stop, which would have put him right at the end of the field.
Especially within those first 3 laps, the field's already condensed. They haven't raced the 5, 10, 15 laps. They haven't spread the field out. So he could have come in back of the field and had to work his way back up, which would have, again, you could say that's justified because he's taken a championship contender out. So
We'll take you out and then see what you can do from there.
Yeah. But it's hard to say because you don't want to say, like, because Hamilton has been on top for so long, he does get that sort of talk that, like, he should know better, he should do better. He should be hit harder with penalties.
Right.
Because, and like, we've seen a lot of commentary, like, on social media and stuff, like, what a flog. He's done that on purpose and all that sort of stuff. It's like
people have found footage of him doing it multiple times throughout his career.
He's
like
done
something
it to
similar.
Albon twice last season. I think it was last season.
Yeah.
So you think the 10-second penalty is justified, or you think it's a slap on the wrist?
I think it's okay.
And I tend to agree with James on this because, again, they want wheel-to-wheel racing. Like, you want to be competitive racing. You don't... You're going to get some of this shit. Like, that's happening. We're on the opening lap as well. Like, this stuff happens.
Yeah. And me as a casual fan, this is the most engaged I've been for a while.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking about it the other week back at
Austria?
For Austria, yes. Like, they were handing out penalties left, right and centre that were excessive. This has gone the other way. It's just like the NRL. They've gone too extreme. They've gone back the other way. Exactly.
Again, it depends on who the stewards are and who they're looking at. So, yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about it beforehand, before the podcast as well. We look at the battles between Alan Prost and Ayrton Senna. The purpose collisions that Ayrton Senna made, I guess, running into Prost in a couple of races. Like, it happens. Like, it's whether it's a strategy of the sport, whether...
Was it intentional?
Yeah, and whether there is a place for it in the sport, it's hard to say. Like, obviously, you're putting people's life
exactly.
in danger.
You don't want to put a guy in a barrier doing 200 k's an hour and pulling 55 G's. Like, yes, the cars are significantly well designed to prevent injuries. Touch on wood that Max walking away from this with barely anything. And maybe just a head knock. Like, credit to the full design of that car, but anything could go wrong in there. Like, that thing jackknifes on the gravel and then it flips over. Like, you could land
different story.
100% different story.
That's it. Well, again, we're talking before the podcast, just talking about the halo as well. Like, you have a look at the replay, the wheel that Hamilton snaps off Verstappen's car, comes back around and hits the halo, like, right where, if that's not there, that's hitting Verstappen in the head at a couple 100 k's an hour. So it's very hard to say whether the penalty was justified.
And it's always going to be challenging with wheel-to-wheel racing, especially in an open wheel format like the F1 is. Versus, and we've got some supercar notes down the bottom there, but with the supercars where they'll bash panels and run into each other all the time because they can keep going. Like, yes, excessive hitting of cars and banging wheels together will break things, but it's, in this where it's such a fine line. And after this, like two other cars had punctures because of debris on the track from all the various instances that happened. So, a lot of stuff does happen in there, but you want racing. You want these guys, like the opening corners, everyone's gone losing their fucking minds. Like the crowd's going bananas. Like, listen to the British crowd. Every time Hamilton made a dive, you're super engaged. Like, this race started at midnight for us. Our time. And, I turned it on. I was like, I did a super late night the night before trying to watch the sprint race. And I was like, I'll see how this starts. And you watch that in the open lap and you go, holy fuck, shit, what's going to go on from here? And you tune in and you stay there. You're not tuning in, staying in for the crashes, but you're tuning in for the drama, essentially, and the entertainment.
The theatre.
And you want to see what happens after that. Like, what are they going to do with Hamilton? What happens next? Like, that's what kind of gets you engaged. You want to see that competition. The contest, as we keep talking about, and all the other things, you want to see that contest. So I kind of lean towards like, it was probably fair enough penalty. It was wheel to wheel racing. They probably don't want to be injuring each other, but shit like that happens. It's motor racing.
Shit happens.
Yeah. And I think probably what made it seem worse was after the race, obviously Hamilton is excited that he won.
Yeah, so
Didn't really recognise what had happened at the time.
yeah, a lot of people weren't
Didn't
real
really
happy.
mention anything about it.
I'd say more
which is-
international than English fans.
Yes.
But on the podium, the words were people kind of said that Lewis was disrespectful to Max.
Okay.
Kind of said, it was his own fault. He shouldn't have been doing it. Like,
Yeah.
no fault of mine at all. 100% blame on Max.
Yeah.
And Max on his social media as well also is like kind of called Hamilton out of Lewis saying there's no place for this in the sport, thinking that it wasn't an intentional move.
No one should be diving in that corner essentially at those kind of speeds. That move was never happening.
Right.
And they've gone back and forth on Twitter and stuff like that. And then Hamilton's definitely outside of England got a bit of a grub tag through social media. The cheetah thrown out a little bit. And I think it's there. He hasn't won a race since
early May.
Since Spain. Early May.
Yeah.
So I think 5 races from memory. He needed a win. Like they needed points.
The Esky curse last week. Could anyone catch Verstappen? And now
run him off the road. Yes, you
run
can.
him off the road. Massive. It's only 8 points difference now between Verstappen
talking
and
about
Hamilton.
Perez before, like he didn't score in the points. He did make it into 10th, I think, from memory, but they pitted him for tyres so he could take the fastest lap away from Lewis. There's essentially not gain a point for Perez, but take a point off Lewis, which gives an extra point for Max, essentially.
Right, with you.
Super shout out for Perez here. It's like, hey, that's massive teamwork there. You're helping Max possibly winning a world championship in that regard.
Actually, also on that, so on the flip side, towards the end of the race, it was Leclerc, Bottas, Hamilton, 1, 2, 3. Bottas gave up his position for Hamilton so that he could. So I'm assuming Hamilton was running faster than Bottas at the moment.
It was way quicker.
So he gave up his position so that Hamilton can chase down Leclerc and make podium, pick up that extra.
Another great teamwork.
So teamwork from the Mercedes boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, there's a lot of strategy to it. I think it was very unfortunate that Perez spun out in the sprint because he would have been that stopgap sort of sitting 4-5 to slow down the rest of the field.
Let's say he's in front of the McLarens.
So.
And he'd be fighting there with Bottas and trying to push into that podium.
That's it. And if they got their pit strategy right, he could have pulled out in front of Hamilton for a bit. If he pitted before Hamilton slowed his race down. So, unfortunate, but yeah.
And it's been quite interesting kind of mentioning the tiers. So I think Constructors is now 8 points. No, 8 points in the Drivers' Champions, maybe 7 in the Constructors. Like both championships now super close with Red Bull, of course, scoring no points, 4 points, no points in this race. So that's really tightened up the top end. So Mercedes, Red Bull, I think it's going to be one of those guys winning both of those championships. Then you've got Ferrari and McLaren really heating up in their barrel. Leclerc second, Sainz sixth, and then Ricciardo and Lando being 4 and 5. They're super close for that third spot and competing in that space. That battle, like those 4 teams are kind of locked out the top for 6 spots, 8 spots, essentially. It'll be one of those guys. And then you've got the interesting from the Aston Martins further down, and AlphaTauri, Alonso, and that kind of like in that middle pack. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that they've kind of 2 tiers there now. And it's very, very clear at this stage. Lando keeps scoring points, so I think he could always be there. He needs to really sneak some wins, but he's the only driver to score in every race. So as long as he keeps that consistent and keeps scoring good points, he's going to be there and thereabouts.
So he's on 113. So that is 64 points behind Lewis.
Yeah. So I don't. As we said, he's the only one that could maybe make a shout there. McLaren, I think, have got different orders. They're trying to beat Ferrari at this point. Maybe he can sneak a race or 2, but I think there's the 2 different tiers there, very much. It was great to see our boy Danny Ricciardo, get a 5th place. That's his highest position. He had a few 6th.
Yep. 6th 3 times.
So trying to getting used to this car now, which I think's hopefully getting used to this car. If he's not, which is what a lot of people kind of haven't realised, like he's still finishing 5th and 6th with a car he's not real comfortable with. Maybe, and Lando did finish, I think, 14 or 15 seconds ahead of him in this race. But hey, that's 14 or 15 seconds Ricciardo could maybe find in this car, and then he could actually start challenging into that top 4.
Sure thing.
Who knows? We'll see. But I'm not as down on Ricciardo as a lot of everyone else kind of is in the media. I think he's doing a job there at McLaren, and I'm really liking the fight between them and Ferrari because they do compete a lot and they have a lot of good racing on the track versus Mercedes and Red Bull. We're kind of separated, but they're if they're either so far in front of the other one, there's not real great racing happening. Whereas Ferrari and McLaren, like Ricciardo and Sainz, back-to-back races, just constantly following each other. The last one, Sainz had better tyres, got the job done. This one, Danny held him off for 20 to 30 laps, so it was impressive.
Yeah, it definitely makes it seem like it's very impressive, very promising for next season. So we didn't talk about it at the top of the segment, but with the new car design.
Good spot to finish off, Max.
So 2022, so this week.
Do you want to put a picture up?
Last week?
I might have been during the week, during the Grand Prix weekend. Sorry,
between podcasts.
There's
a long time in between.
Yeah, it might have been like Friday or something like that. Yeah, they did show up some designs for next year's cars. Big things, of course, less aero on the front wing, less aero on the rear wing. Kind of reshaping the cars a little bit from where they are. Big one, wheel size change, so rim size change, which may allow
from 13 inch to 18, and then the inner dimensions changing as well.
That's massive change, isn't it?
Which
5 inches. In wheels, boys. In wheels, 5 inches is big.
But maybe that allows more of the wheel-to-wheel racing because instead of banging tyres, which get punctures and stuff like that, you're hitting rims. Maybe that contact between Verstappen and Hamilton doesn't end up in spins or wheels breaking because there's more structural weight in there versus hitting just rubber tyres. Who knows? But the cars look interesting. They're definitely a different change. They've got a more of a... you got any other photos there, James? They've got a more rounder shape, especially in the front wing. Yeah. And then into the rear wing there.
The rear wing.
Yeah, the rear wing. And then, of course, the middle, like massive air ducts on the sides there from the car. Like it's a more rounded shaped car. And
is that spoiler real different as well?
Yeah, so it looks like it's all fixed. So I don't know if they're going to have DRS.
Template car. Yeah, got to remember that. Like this is kind of how they demo it.
Is it actually going to look like this as well?
Yeah. So this is the prototype and the kind of ideas. Yes, I think, as you say, there'll be a DRS wing there and how that all opens up. But they've integrated the front nose a bit better, so it kind of looks nicer. But it's definitely kind of changed up the design. All to do with allowing cars to be able to follow each other, which has always been a big concern. Since there's so much aero, there's so much turbulent air. So if you get into a corner right behind another car, you've got no downforce, essentially.
Right.
Which makes it very, very hard to turn your car right or left.
Yeah.
So the idea is like the aero has been designed in a specific way to take some of that aero out. Still, of course, get you enough downforce, but not to create as much turbulent air coming off the back of the car. So we can get closer racing. So as in you can follow right behind another car, like on its wheels, your radiator essentially in that back wing, and then that hopefully will allow for more overtakes.
Yeah. So I think what it does is that I guess the rear wing and the rear end of the body sends that turbulent air higher up into the air. So it sort of creates, I probably wouldn't say, I guess it's kind of a vacuum in terms of slipstream, but it creates that little pocket of air underneath the car, which they call dirty air now, where it's very turbulent. So it allows for cars to get up closer to the back end of a competitor leading into corners so they can actually attack through corners rather than having to stay 15, 20, 30 metres behind and then have to try and catch up through aggressive braking or anything like that. It'll be interesting.
Like some big changes, I'm not sure if like the end plates on the front wing, like they're a lot more pronounced now than they were. And also I think if you notice that the Scroll up just a little bit. You can't really see it there. The little lip wing over the front tire.
Yeah, that's real different.
That's real different
Yeah,
now too. So it's very new, and it's kind of interesting. And of course, it's to try and break some of that air that comes across, and create a little bit of the downforce, but also send that a little bit higher.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how next year goes.
Yeah.
With how all the cars kind of implement into this. There is a spend cap now in their fun.
Yep, research development spend.
So, a lot of teams spending some of their cap this year, next year, trying to get this car ready.
Okay, yep.
So this is getting very technical. One of the other things that's a huge design is the side pods and the underneath bodywork of the side pods.
Yep.
So there was actually
come out the side.
a rule came out a few years ago, several years ago, that prohibited some sort of technical stuff happening underneath the side pods.
Yep.
So practically said that it's just got to be flat. You can't use any aero underneath the side pods.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're reversing that, bringing back some of that sort of stuff so that they can use the air. So teams can use the air pods to create, or the airflow underneath the side pods to create that downforce, leaving the back end more simple to allow for that changing the turbulent air behind them. So there's so much technical stuff.
Yeah, that's why it's more rounded, and then they've got the extra wings there, and that's that middle section of the car we're talking about.
They look
there.
very different.
Yeah. So, hey, they still look good, which is the main thing. They still look like an impressive machine.
Yeah.
That can go very, very fast.
Dude, from a casual fan, that looks sexy. That looks real sexy.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
So it'd be interesting to see what racing's like next year. If it's super competitive, lots of overtakes, going back to the yesteryear of kind of some of the F1 days, that would be very, very impressive. So, speaking about some of that, we'll switch, go a bit more local motorsports.
Yeah.
Sorry, Peps, on the motorsports.
No, that's all right. I'm trying to keep up, keep my head above water.
I just wanted to mention, Monks, you can find some highlights if you really want to for Supercars in Townsville. A lot of really, really close, excellent races. So they do 3 races over 2 days, essentially. But it's on a street circuit in Townsville. So crazy, essentially, for how close they are, how much fighting is, lots of damage to panels, etc., and all that kind of that racing process.
Right.
But it was so excellent, the racing within the actual sessions. So, cars diving in and out, bumping wheels to wheels, kind of pushing each other. Excellent races. Like, if you haven't watched any of the Supercars, watch Supercars on any street circuit, because it's very, very good to watch.
And it's very different, obviously, from the tracks.
And very different from how, say, F1 kind of races. It's very, very close, and any of those race highlights down there would be good. It's Cam Waters won 2 of the events of the 3, kind of trying to chase down Shane van Gisbergen. He's won most of the races. He won one of these and finished second in the other one. But it's just, I just want to shout out Townsville. Excellent kind of series there. Yeah. Supercars, I think they had to do back-to-back in Townsville too. So they were there last week as well. And I think that might have been COVID related too, as they're trying to manage, not getting COVID in a sports car.
Going back to that whole downforce and stuff as well. So I think this was during qualifier, Josh Fife. I think he's a Canberra boy.
Yep.
So during qualifying, or practice, he lost the rear spoiler, the rear wing.
The middle part between his 2 end plates.
Yeah. And the sudden loss of that created a huge gap in, I guess, he lost all of his downforce in the rear end, which made him completely spin out the back end of his car.
Yeah. If you can't get any grip, and then it's just, you put any accelerator on that, it goes round.
Yeah. I'm not going to bring up this video now.
You got too many Heineken ads. Bloody Nico Rosberg with his Heineken ads. Might need to refresh that.
So has Shane van Gisbergen pretty much got this season wrapped up, do you think? Could Whincup or Waters catch him?
That's probably the shout. The Whincup, technically his teammate, I believe, but very, very close. Waters really needed to get... He's had a really big turn of fortunes. I think last week he didn't have that good of a series with a couple of races in Townsville, but he did in this one. Like they needed to change the car up, and yes, he might compete there. Chas Mostert needs to really find things, but SVG's just been so dominant from. Every time I keep checking in on the supercars occasionally and catch a couple of races, he's just been so dominant on what he's doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One Bathurst, one South Australia. Then it was a little bit quiet, but then since then it's gone well in Townsville. Both those races end up there in Darwin. So here's to lose.
This is that's huge. Like even through there, that's not a huge. It's a high speed corner, but it's not a massive corner. But no aero over the back wheels. There's just no grips.
Yeah.
Yeah, these races were excellent for just the amount of, the Yanks love NASCAR because they bump and they get in and stuck with each other, but they don't go left and right. Supercars is kind of that nice medium between F1 and NASCAR. You put it together.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a really good kind of motorsport. People, it gets the wrong stigma here in this country just because of Holden and Ford and Bogans.
Your words.
Quick math. It does.
Yeah.
But just from a pure motorsport racing aspect, it's such a really good close run motorsport with a lot more overtakes and bumps and a lot more action. Like it's really fun to watch, honestly. I watched the first race and then the third race, I think, and it's just they were like 20 30 odd laps, so it's like 30 40 minutes, which is good. Just whack it on. I was like, that was an interesting race, and away you go.
Nice stuff. Bit of supercar chat here on the Esky.
Yeah.
Let's head down the final straight, if you will. The British Open at Royal St George's has concluded. Sure, as Sean just ducks out for a wee, the oldest tournament in golf is back after its COVID hiatus last year. And early on, it was all Louis Oosthuizen, up to him. He had the 36-hole record at the Open, shooting 129. That's often what we'll shoot for one round of golf. So good on him for doing that in two.
If you're lucky.
Hey, speak for yourself.
I am.
And after Friday night, he had a two-shot. After Saturday night, had a two-shot lead from Colin Morikawa and three shots from Jordan Spieth going into Sunday. And the big question mark around him was, can he actually close out and get one of these wins, or will he be bridesmaid again? Yep. He won back in 2010, I think it was, at the Open, and since then has had 5 runner-ups, 2 in the last two majors, that being in the US Open and PGA Championship. And he shot a measly 71 on Sunday. and Morikawa, Spieth and John Ram all shot 66s. So it was Colin Morikawa getting the bickies there at the British Open. He wins his British Open debut. He did the same thing at the PGA Championship last year, which means he's the only golfer ever to win 2 majors on a tournament debut. Unbelievable stuff for the 24-year-old American. The thing now for me is, does he do a Spieth or a McIlroy, who had these early wins? I think Spieth was 21 when he first won a major, and Rory might have been 22 or 23. And I think they won, I think Jordan won 3 and Rory maybe 4. And since have been really, still good golfers, and we've seen a real resurgence, especially with Jordan Spieth this year.
Yeah.
Does Morikawa get these early wins and then sort of drop off, or does he do a Tiger and just keep fucking winning at a young age? He's awesome to watch. He's just so clinical. Rarely makes mistakes. Not the biggest driver in the world, but just doesn't make many mistakes. We talk about Bryson. I think there was days when he was hitting 4 of 14 fairways and fucking blaming his driver. That got a little bit of airplay.
Yeah. You see Brooks just saying, "I love my driver." So funny.
Well, early on in this, I think he came out and I think Brooksy came out as well, saying they absolutely hated this course. They did not like playing it because of the way the fairways run, and
it's hard. I don't know if you guys seen any of the
shrub on the side of it.
And the aerial shots of the fairways. It is, mate. It looks like the squeaky voiced teenager of Simpsons. It looks like his face.
A little bit bumpy.
Bumpy, there's bumps everywhere.
No, definitely.
So even if you did find the fairway, it didn't make for the easiest conditions. But the way they were all shooting it, like Morikawa won he had 14 under, I think he finished. So it couldn't have been playing that hard. And
Part of the challenge. You just play where it lies.
Well, and I tell you what, fucking England turned on a day for Sunday. I was watching a little bit last night. It's getting a bit sleepy about 11:30 our time.
Like that beautiful weather.
Unbelievable.
I think it's super hot as well. I think they were saying...
A balmy 26 degrees or something.
Sorry to go back to F1 chat, but I think it was the first time they've had a British Grand Prix there where it hasn't rained on any of the days in like 9 years or something. It was crazy.
Unbelievable
the last time
scenes.
had good weather. So,
the
British Open, excellent to get that same weather at the same time.
Yeah, so England's had its nice weekend for the year, and that'll be that done. But yeah, no. Shout out to Colin, 24 years of age. I can't imagine winning 2 majors at 24 years of age, and it's the world's his oyster now.
So, from my perspective, to answer your question, Peps, like it can really depend. Just your name's out there, you're now a celebrity, and then let's say celebrity.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's won 2 golf majors, so he is a celebrity.
Then all the money comes with that as well. Like that's where guys kind of lose themselves.
Staying grounded.
So.
And I tell you what, it's hard.
Golf's probably a different sport.
It is, but still, if you get a fuckload of money, you're just like, Tiger. Everyone uses Tiger as the example of like. He was essentially Black Jesus for a long time until everyone would then realise it's like, wait, he's just fucking all these bulk bitches on the sideline that just no one knew about. So
well, a lot of that came to fruition afterwards. Look, I don't want to judge a book by its cover. Colin seems as squeaky clean cut as they can come, but who knows? Maybe I think he won £2 million from that, so it is a lot of money. But
do you know some bloke ran a Tiger Woods' Jesus second coming of Jesus website for his entire career until the He's a Fair things come out? It was just like, well, I was wrong. Close it down.
Old Tiger. Shout out. Hopefully, Tiger's recovering well. But
heal.
And that's all the majors done for golf this year. We're
already. Shit, we're already.
Yeah.
7 months.
Well, and towards the end of the Northern Hemisphere.
True.
Summer.
So get a bit cool.
Yeah. So the upcoming PGA Tour events now start to be for the FedEx Cup. The winner of the year.
Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on that. And congratulations to Colin Morikawa, 2 majors and both on his tournament debut. Unbelievable stuff.
Definitely.
Finish up with some Olympics, I think, and Olympics starts Friday.
It's here.
It's here,
ladies and gentlemen.
Crazy to think.
Yeah, I don't think it's been majorly advertised at the moment that I can see with any
in Australia.
In Australia.
Yeah, well, I think it's not 7 that's got it this year. One of them's got it.
Maybe 10. That's probably why no one knows. No one watches it.
Free to air.
Again.
Yeah. Shout out to anyone that's watching Survivor tonight. And that always gets
Bachelor. I think new batch is starting soon.
Yeah, well, that always
shout out Luke Poxon.
That always gets the boys fired up. Some boys still love Survivor, even though they're 31 years old and sleep in big boy beds. But
at least it's not cardboard.
Well, cardboard beds. Funny you mentioned that. What the fuck's going on with that? There's cardboard beds in the Olympic Village, ladies and gentlemen. And is that the reason to try and stop hanky-panky happening? Because I thought if you weren't a medal chance or there or thereabouts, I thought the only reason to go to the Olympics was to try and get some hanky-panky going. Try and sneak into the Dutch hockey team's quarters or the Swedish handball team, if you will.
So I think it's good for your stress relief, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think Rio was well known as athletes were going through each other like
fest.
Yeah, it was a fuck fest.
It's Brazil.
When in Rio.
Oh mate, I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah. So they've got in Japan in the Olympic Village they've got reusable or sustainable beds. Not reusable, that's probably bad. Sustainable. So they've given them all cardboard structure beds. They're all made out of cardboard with a mattress on top of it.
Right.
So I think
they're flimsy, are they?
well, I think that was then the rumor / myth was started that they're only good enough to support one person's race because they're all single beds.
One person. Hang on. We've got Olympic weightlifters here. Are we talking the 48 kilo or the super heavyweights?
Exactly. We've got some, basketball players over there that are pushing 7 foot, so they'll be weighing a fair bit.
Yeah.
Probably the beds aren't long enough for them, especially being in Japan. They're going to be 5'10".
I struggled a lot. I was when I was in Japan. This is before COVID. Yeah, 1920 New Year's. Mm-hmm. I think I was the tallest person in that country.
Yep.
I literally I did not see anyone taller than me.
Yeah.
Bit of a different story, I imagine, when the Olympics roll through.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure who started it, but someone started that was going around that. Yes, these cardboard beds are designed only for one person, so it's there to prevent the anti-sex beds. They're trying to prevent you from the hanky-panky. I can't remember. There's an Irish gymnast who's already there doing his quarantine, and he jumped up on top of all of his bed and said, "Yeah, it's structurally, it supports my weight. I'm jumping up down. I think it'll be okay for sexy time." And I think he was retweeted by the Olympic Twitter as they say, "Look, myth to be debunked."
Debunked. Nice there. Yeah.
So. I don't know. It was just a funny story. And then, there's all the memes and stuff floating around. It's like, these are professional athletes. I don't think they need beds to be having sex. So,
shout out to Dylan Brown if you're listening. So, enough about the beds. The anti-sex beds.
But the biggest, that's funny. We're, 5 days away from the Olympics starting. And the biggest story that they're talking about leading to that is fucking anti-sex cardboard beds.
I don't know if that's the biggest story. It's in the,
if it's not that, it's then the COVID that's in camp at the moment, which is trouble.
Big, so
I think the big out from the American sports team, their youngest tennis player got COVID and she's out. She's going to be the youngest ever tennis player to play in the Olympics. 17-year-old got the cocoa. No go for her.
No good. What about our men's and women's basketball teams? They both.
Hold on. Monkey's got a condom tally for us. So there's 160,000 condoms being, I'm assuming, distributed to the athletes.
Is this in the Olympic Village?
Yeah, but that's it.
No, that's going to be for the whole Olympics. There's 12,000 athletes.
Yeah.
So quick maths. Each athlete's fucking going through 15 frangers. That's one a day.
Yeah, but also if you go back down, Rio had 450,000.
But let's get these numbers right. This was just this isn't in the athletes' village. This is.
I don't know what this includes.
It says it. Cash of condoms to the athletes, as they have been every Olympics game since 1988. 160,000 for the athletes.
Fuck it. What about 500,000 in Rio?
Plus, you remember you got to halve that number if it's athletes, female athletes with male athletes.
Yeah.
They both got 15 each, essentially, to be using.
That's a lot of frangers. So it does confirm what the Olympics are about.
Winning gold medals and punching holes.
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's called the clean and jerk and the snatch.
That's a terrible chat.
We're deep here.
Oh my God.
Let's talk seriously for a minute. Seriously about the
just like the Jamaican team.
about the men's and women's basketball teams for Australia. They have dominated.
Yeah, one of the few sports I think kind of doing prepping events where they're kind of leading into getting ready. Yeah, and of course big team sports.
That's right. Las Vegas has hosted exhibition games between Australia, Nigeria, USA. I think it was just those three, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Australia planned to play USA yesterday, I believe. Well, that was cancelled.
And we already beat them once in the men's. I suppose
in the men's again, so they were going to play them again. And
beat them in the women's. Shout out to the girls. The question here, I guess, is does Team USA really care that much? It's just exhibitions. They're probably just not trying not to get hurt. I don't really see how that team, especially in the men's, loses.
But the joke was, though, they've gone 52-2 in like 20 years or something in exhibitions. And then they lost to Nigeria and Australia in a week.
Right.
So they've lost just as many games in exhibitions as they had in the last 20 years or some shit like that. So maybe some concerns there.
Bradley Beal.
I couldn't remember if he actually got COVID or he's out of the team because he's in the protocols at least. I couldn't remember if he actually got the Rona or not. But he was kind of the big name. Kevin Love had to pull out with injury, and then Grant as well was in the protocols. But I'm not sure whether he was had Dorona or he just had close contacts. So there's a bit of turmoil there in the US team. They're going to have to bring in some replacements for those guys. But I'm pretty sure they'll still win the gold medal. They beat Spain today, I think, too, in their other heat. In the other one.
Right. Well, it's always theirs to lose, but
pretty much.
Famously has happened at the Olympics before.
Yes, a couple of times.
Yep. What about for the Boomers? We talk about them. This has to be encouraging. No Ben Simmons.
They've played really well otherwise.
Yep.
So, winning against USA, and then I think they've won
against Nigeria.
And
Smoke Nigeria. And Nigeria beat USA as well. So
I think slightly different team for Nigeria. They might have been trying. I think both teams have been. That's the other thing. But all teams kind of aren't showing their game plans or their starting five. They rotate. They're trying shit out essentially. So it won't be the exact what they're doing.
Is the US is going to be? Here's the game plan. Try and stop KD.
Pretty much.
Good luck. Fucking good luck.
Yeah. Feed KD. He's going to feast. Because he dominated Spain today too, so you just couldn't block him.
Surely they pull their finger out come the big games. So a massive story for Aussies at least. Elizabeth Cambage or Cambage. When she had an altercation in the Nigerian game.
Yeah, a lot of verbal spray back and forth.
And there's an investigation going into that. Then she went MIA, so they're not meant to be out of a bubble, just went...
Well, she's in Vegas.
Went out on
went in Vegas, baby.
For a night. If she fucking plays in Vegas, it can't be that much. Can't be, oh my God, I'm in Vegas. Like,
true. She probably went home, honestly.
It can't be a big thing for her. And then there was a big hoo-ha about how she was MIA. She came out on her Instagram and posted she's out of the Olympics for some mental health reasons. Played that card. It's been very divisive here in the local media. A lot of people kind of saying, "Wow, like 5 days out from the Olympics and you're pulling this shit. Are you a diva, or has she got a right to say, look, my mental health's not the best. I don't want to go into a bubble and play in these Olympics." What are your thoughts?
Hard to say. Like you can go either side of that coin. You can get stuck into her, like, hey, like you said, she's played a card, tried to control the narrative because maybe she was getting booted. That was essentially the situation, that she's going to be cut from the side after multiple strikes against the name. So control that narrative. I'm not going to participate because it's going to happen anyway. And
kind of protect her brand a little bit.
Yeah, possibly.
There is that potential. But then on the flip side of that, if she's struggling and got problems, you also want to then support her through that process.
100%.
So you got to be careful with that. And a lot of people, and I did see some really interesting things. Like, it also doesn't help if you've played that card, that you're playing a card versus the people that actually have mental health problems that really need that support, and that you're now devaluing their situation with yours. So
and here's the thing: how do you know? Like, honestly, well, and she was playing the race card 2 months ago with the photos, the Olympic team.
Slightly different with the marketing kind of aspect, but
marketing, and now
not happy.
And now she's playing that card, but she's also does have this diva persona about her. Look, whatever's going on with her, it's a basket case. Let's be honest. Yeah. I feel for the other girls when you're 100%. When the hands down best player on your team, a WNBA multiple All-Star, gets shafted or quits, whichever one it was, 4 or 5 days out from the Olympics, and she's 6'8", she can dunk. The next tallest girl on the team, 6'5". I was asking Monks before, can you tell me someone else on the Boomers as very, very casual women's basketball fans?
No.
I feel for them. I think this is a massive,
especially
disruption. Yeah, it's a massive disruption to their preparation, and they're good, man. They won 3 silver medals in a row, made the gold medal match, but lost to the US team. I think in 2004-08, and have still medalled or been there or thereabouts since then. They're a legitimate chance of going deep here, and then that's a massive...
Yeah, it's a huge out for the team.
Yeah, a massive distraction. And we spoke about Ben Simmons a few weeks ago. It's a completely different situation because the Sixers have finished up. He's gone. look, I'm going to go work on my jumper and
Smash Maya.
go to Wimbledon.
Go to Wimbledon.
That's another kettle of fish right there. But he's given notice. You know, you want to quit a job, you got to give your 2 weeks notice or whatever. It hasn't.
Still doesn't help the Boomers, honestly. So.
Sure, and again, it's their best player, but at least he hasn't gone into the camp and like it's
True.
Yeah. And this thing with Cambridge, she was, I'm not playing because I'm taking a stand against race. 3 days later, I'm on my Instagram. Guess who's in? You know, all the confidence in the world. Now this whole thing, it's difficult, and she's really dividing. We talk about Connor losing fans before. For mine, I think all that Liz Cambridge is doing is losing fans. But
yeah, I can agree with that.
We'll see what happens. We do wish her, if there is some serious mental health issues going on there, wish her all the best. And
Definitely.
The Opals will miss her. But again, we've spoken a lot about the basketball leading up. Obviously, there's a lot of Australian athletes going to the Olympics.
A lot of sports.
We'll be following it pretty intently. Let's be honest.
Definitely. We'll of course follow all the Australian medal hopes, but there's a lot of sports in there that we do like to follow as well.
Sure.
Including the ice hockey. So we do like to really follow the Olympics. And then
the ice hockey.
Sorry, Winter Olympics. Like, I was kidding.
Well, the field hockey.
There is field hockey.
Yeah, field hockey, we can win a medal there. So
we're always a chance. That is an in-joke for us being very casual ice hockey fans. Go Golden Knights. Fucking bleed black and gold over here.
Golden Nuggets.
But speaking of gold, or possibly lack thereof.
Only 8 last.
Only 8, only 8 in Rio for Australia. We finished 10th on the medal tally. Both of those numbers our worst since Barcelona 1992. So hoping we can do a little bit better than that. Obviously, swimming, sailing's actually becoming quite good. For us, they'll be our main contenders, and we'll keep an eye on the basketball, hockey, and wherever else we can scrounge one.
So quick preview. How do you think the medal tally is going to end up? Give me your top 5 or 3. Like
it'll be United States will get.
Should be one.
Well, I was having a look. I think they're like $1.10.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, and Beijing.
So
China actually topped it in Beijing, but I think I'm pretty sure since then the US has been the big dog. A two who's been on the improve rapidly. Great Britain. I think they come third in Rio. They've been on the up. It'll be America from China, and with all the Russian sanction stuff recently.
They're going to struggle.
RE Icarus. Need to watch that. I haven't seen that. Apparently, it's excellent viewing.
Yes.
I think they'll be a long way off it. I think 1, 2, 3 will be USA, China, Great Britain.
Sneak India in your top 5?
India? Fucking no chance. And I'm sorry to any of our Indian viewers. They have an abysmal record at the Olympic Games.
What sport do you base that on?
They suck at the athletic. I'm sorry. They're not real great.
They only get a couple medals in shooting and wrestling.
I thought they did all right in the last one.
Okay, no.
Okay. all right. Yeah. Shut me down.
They have never been top 10, ever, at the Olympics.
I reckon they beat Australia in Rio.
No. No.
Right, go.
You're smoking crack.
Smoking crack.
Like this is... We go on a stretch when we're covering ice hockey, but this has to be one of the most outrageous claims that I've ever heard.
It's not as bad as bloody Ed Reed and Ray Lewis playing on the same.
This is worse. That's a niche. That's a niche area, and fair enough. It is a niche that we're quite interested in American football.
Do you have Rio totals there, Max?
No. Look at India's total medals ever in the Olympics.
I want Rio total. Where
you got the totals? I'll look up Rio. Dude, they weren't. I know what you're smoking, man.
So are we looking
put it on the big screen? Put it on the big screen, please.
Yeah,
I can't see it from over.
Just Summer Olympics?
Yeah, just the summer.
This is total. Okay,
This is total.
This is
of all
total.
time.
So let's just get Australia there for total.
Yes.
Summer Olympics, 147 gold medals. Okay, 147 total.
Yeah.
All right, go down to India, please.
Yeah, I know India haven't done great long term, but
9. 9.
I just want to know what they did in Rio.
Okay, well, unless they got 9 in Rio, you're fucked because we got 8.
The total 28.
Yeah. Can you get me some Rio results there, Mark? Just search it. Rio Olympic.
Yeah, I've got it here. Control find medal I just don't know where this is coming from.
For whatever reason, I thought.
All right, here we go. So Australia was 10th with 8. Netherlands, Hungary, Brazil, Spain, Kenya, Jamaica, Croatia, Cuba, New Zealand, Canada, Uzbek, fucking Uzbek.
Keep scrolling, bro.
Kazakh, Colombia,
Uzbek
Switzerland,
are good at the
Iran. I'm
weightlifting.
I'm going. I'm going to have to control find India. India.
67. Sorry, my Indian brothers.
0 gold medals, 1 silver, 1 bronze. The most outrageous claim ever made on the Esky here. India for a top 5 finish at the Olympics.
I don't know. I'm sure I saw something
Are
that
you
India
thinking
was
of
doing
cricket?
well. No. There's no cricket in the Olympics. If there was, they'd
No, I'm
dominate.
talking about the sport. That is an outrageous claim.
Who was in the top 10?
Jesus Christ. USA.
Unfortunately, not India.
So Great Britain actually finished above China.
Yeah.
Down to Russia, Germany, Japan, France, South Korea. Italy is quite similar
Yeah,
to
maybe I
India.
confused Italy with. Yeah, that was my shout. Yeah, India and Italy. Yeah, bro.
Both very strong cricketing nations. Nice food.
Well, we finished in the top 10. Let's see if we can do better than that.
Yeah. And maybe we didn't get a sports bet market. India under over half a gold medal.
I'm really interested now. What do they win their medals in?
It's like shooting and
He's shooting and weightlifting.
wrestling, perhaps.
Yeah.
Fuck me. You know,
India for top 50. Here we go, boys. Let's
it's
go.
right at the end of the episode. It'd be very easy to cut.
Nah, fuck that. Who cares?
Thank you to anyone that has made it through 3 hours of our show on the Esky. Get around our Instagram. Chuck us a follow.
This is the medalist. That'll take it.
No, this is gotta go.
It's so funny though.
India
Here you
has
go.
never
medals
won.
by sport. So field hockey's their most.
There you go. 8 gold in field hockey.
1 in shooting. There you
Shooting,
go.
that's what I was remembering more recently. Weightlifting was 1, and I think that might have been the last Olympics.
Hey, we got to beat those Indians at field hockey. That's what's got to go. Let's get behind our field hockey boys.
And on the medal tally, which I imagine will happen. Yes. Don't get mad at us, any Indian listeners that are this
top
far.
Top 50 for
guys,
India. Heard it here first. Top 50 for India.
Top 50. Cracking it, coming down from 67.
Badminton and wrestling.
Badminton, wrestling. There we go. Boxing. Shout out. Let's go, India. Team India. Can't wait.
Definitely.
All right, boys. Thanks. 10 days in between episodes. It'll be only 3 days in between the next one. We will preview the upcoming rounds in the AFL and NRL. We may have a NBA champion. We may be going to a Game 7. And the Olympics will be 1 day away. And hopefully India is off to a great start in the field hockey, because I think that starts the day before. Righto, we'll catch you next time on the Esky. Like and subscribe, etc., etc.
Thank you, everyone.
Because we are. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.